development, some interesting exploits, something new and exciting that I just found out about with Unity 2022.1. I said it right that time. I was kind of surprised. I thought I would mess it up. And then we've got a big list of other topics. We'll be taking some questions, giving away another writer license. I think I sent all of those out. If I missed yours and you won once before, please email me. Same with hoodies. We'll probably do just another big giveaway at the end. Do a writer license and one of those. If you want to win either of those, just enter at the link down below. All right, welcome. Thanks, everybody, for coming out and joining us. Dave right above me, Yorai, and Jason over there. So, how's you guys' week been?
Pretty good. Got to enjoy the Game Awards and stuff.
Video Game Awards, yeah? You've been taking the time off, right? I think most of us are probably kind of relaxing and taking some time off, or at least most game companies. And maybe not you, Dave. You've been doing that for most of the year, right? Most game companies that I know take off most of December. Oh, I mean, you're ramping up now instead of slowing down. You're kind of going the opposite. Most game companies,
always.
Most of the time in a big company, December is like the time when nobody's coming into the office. Not much is being done. It's just like watch out for fires, and that's about it. So, And how about you, Jason? Everything going good over there?
Yeah. I've been rewatching all the Matrix movies to recap in preparation for the new one. I've been doing that writing course with you. Pretty much that, and just the usual end of year wrap ups, do the accounts, house cleaning, all the fun stuff, you know.
All the stuff, yeah. I'm getting ready for the holidays over here. I got all my Christmas stuff up, decorations, and ready with all the kids. Like I said, lots of kids, lots of sickness, and lots of prep. So anyway, on to game development. You're talking a bit about the Matrix, Jason. You're talking about the new movie, and I saw the whole the Unreal video about it that Yorai sent. I don't know if everybody who was watching with us live right now has seen it. If not, we'll drop a link down there. You should definitely go check it out. It's Keanu Reeves giving a really good interview. At least I thought it was about the tech they're using in there. So you guys got thoughts on that? Did you all watch that?
Yeah, I watched the full 10-minute video, and it's like, I really want a PS5 right now just so I can dive into it and see the open world segment on my own. There is a lot of really nice presentation of the tech jumps we've had in the past couple of years, so it's nice to see one project showing it all off.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. It definitely looked neat. It was funny too, his call out on NFTs. I've seen that posted a couple places now, that little clip, before I'd even seen the full video.
I admit though, I'm a tad disappointed because it's a very impressive technical showcase, but it is literally nothing more than that. Like it is, it has a fun little introductory thing, and then after that, it's basically simulation. Like you like, I know that's very on point, but it just walks you through. Here's a big city. Here's a crowd sim. Here's a traffic sim, and that's really cool. But like, it is so close to being a game. Like even just a bad game, like a quick one. Yeah. But there's stuff like, for example, there's little placards throughout that you can go up to and read a factoid about this was using this particular technology or whatever, and you can't do anything with them. There's no indication that like you can mark that you've read it. There's no hunting them down. You're not being chased by anything. There's no like just putting in like 2 or 3 small mechanics, and it would have turned it from being a static environment to even like a small playable thing, you know. And I kind of feel like with the Matrix as a franchise is literally about technology and all the effects of it and all that kind of stuff, and going into all the themes, it just feels a little bit weird that they're bringing out something that's very like there's nothing beneath the surface, right? When the whole point of the Matrix is everything's beneath the surface. There should have been some depth behind it, and it makes sense. It's cool, and if I was Unreal, I would be ecstatic. It's a fantastic way to show off and a good justification for the technology. But I mean, just like another 3 months, just keep it a bit secret, and then come out with something that like actually has some meat to it would have been much more impressive to me.
Yeah, for me, it's showing how far game engines have come in the world of film as well. So showing that they're going to have a lot more impact in film, TV over the years. to come. So there's something there. If you're thinking about getting into the industry, don't just think about game engines for games now. Films and TV and all sorts of genres, etc., coming to the head.
Yeah, it seems to be a big push for them. Even Unity, huge push. I mean, that whole acquisition they just did, right, was all about film and digital asset creation, and I think that it's probably
Very branding too.
Yep. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. So there were a couple other really exciting things that came out today. There was that big exploit and this new Unity beta. I don't know, which one do you guys think we should jump on first, or what does everybody in chat think we should jump on first? You guys got thoughts?
I think the vulnerability thing is going to be pretty quick unless we dive into the whole you can never get rid of all of these situation.
Again, it's also like, that's always going to be an issue. Java is also not the most bottlenecked, super secure thing in the world anyway.
All right, yeah. Why don't we dive into that one first? Then we'll start with the big exploit that's popped up and why that impacts so much stuff. So let me see if I can find the link. I had it up here. Let's see, security vulnerability in Java. Let's see if we can share this with everybody. You want to just briefly kind of explain what's going on, Yorai, though? Why there's a Java exploit that somehow impacts Minecraft and other stuff, and what this means?
Right. So as we all know, when you have a programming language, it has a certain set of features it comes with. And not every language comes with all the features you want. And for those things, you either write the extended feature yourself or you get a package from somewhere that gets you what you want. And there has been one very popular package like that called Log4j, which a lot of projects use. And this package apparently had a vulnerability that, under the right circumstances, can let someone effectively take over your computer. So a lot of big projects are running and trying to fix it right now, as far as I understand. And it's being used in Minecraft. Therefore, all the Minecraft servers up to date are vulnerable. And in order to get around that, you have to update the servers. And I thought it's very interesting because there are so many versions of Minecraft being played concurrently. Because if you ever played Minecraft, you'll see that there is a launcher, and the launcher actually lets you pick the game version, and it goes back years. So you can actually play old builds of the game that will not have the fixes for this unless you follow the guidelines here.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. There'll be a lot of servers that are compromised and open and accessible. This is probably mostly going to hit game developers on their local systems that ran a server, have it set up, and just don't pay attention to it enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's middleware for you, right? Like literally, anytime you're using someone else's stuff or whatever.
You want to explain what that is, Jason? Like why people are using this Log4j? What versions are, all that.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess the first thing to note is just the fact that we've all done logging. Debug.log is our good friend. And the problem with it though is it's very localized to the machine you're on, the system you're on, and what you're doing. And if you're dealing with a lot of people and a larger system and various other different things, you don't want to be like manually reading log files. You want more control over those log files. And so there's a lot of third-party providers that handle logging for you. In enterprise, very few people do a debug.log. You're sending them somewhere. It's either some web client, or you're building up a file, or you're doing something. And as you get more advanced with this, you start doing fancier things with those. You start taking the log files and auto-filtering them and sending some to some places and auto-emailing people if an error occurs, and so on and so forth. So, long story short, logs are a big deal. Logging systems are a big deal. And quite frankly, to do it right is more work than most people want to put in. So there's a lot of really big log providers out there. Log4j for Java is a big one, and Log4net for .NET is a big one there. And it's basically boils down to you import this into your project, you add a config file of some sort, and then from there you log to them. And then they wrangle that data and send it to various different places. So it's not there's no fault of anybody using this tool because it makes perfect sense from a production perspective that it's like saves you a lot of time, gives you a lot of power, and oftentimes directly allows you to do things you couldn't normally do. Like if your boss asks you, has anything broken on any of these different computers across any of the servers anywhere yet? You can say no, because I have a little readout right here that'll tell me the minute any of these things happen, pipe it through to some analytics dashboard, and I can filter everything across multiple stuff. So it is a powerful tool. It's nobody's fault for using it, but like anything, exploits can happen. And if they happen in a tool that you're consuming, you're screwed because it's someone else's code. And the only way to fix it tends to be like, I imagine they jumped on this pretty quick. I imagine it's pretty quickly fixed from a code perspective, but that's not where the problem lies. The problem lies in the fact that any big system is going to be deathly afraid of upgrading. And so, from my experience, if you work in a company, they're using older versions of everything from Word to older versions of Windows. And people might think that's stupid and think, oh, these companies, they never upgrade, they're idiots. You're more of an idiot if you jump on the latest thing that when like millions is on the line for a larger company. It makes a lot of sense that you stick with an older thing that's reliable until it isn't, and then you do the fixes. So there's a lot of different things that are going to be using this and a lot of different places that'll need to be updated. And that's a concern. And usually it's not a quick thing because you don't want to have the equal problem where you instantly try to fix everything by rushing a patch, which introduces more issues. So you have to go through a procedure to make sure everyone's on board and everyone's machine gets updated. Now, as a side note, most companies that are smart use an imaging system. So they're not going to be running around every computer in a small bank and trying to replace it. They're probably going to push some new image or some patch or something. So, yeah, either way, it's one of those things which can be quite a surprise. It looks like a small little, oh, by the way, hey, if you have this thing, be careful, it might give you an issue. But there's ripple effects to stuff like this. This basically means machines that are doing far more important things than Minecraft servers are in trouble, but Minecraft server being on the machine makes them equally as culpable in trouble. So it's a big topic.
Yeah, it seems like it's hit a couple of our viewers too. Multiple people talking in chat about being hit by it this morning or Friday, and then even some optional other ways to fix it.
Yeah. There's also something worth mentioning for people who are fearing this now. This only affects you if you're actively using an application that gets input from a place you don't fully trust that uses this. So if you're just, for example, playing a local Minecraft server with your friends and you know that only your friends are sending the information, you should be safe.
Until somebody else finds that server.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, something I wanted to bring up regarding the being deathly afraid of upgrading. This is actually an ongoing topic in Terraria and has been pretty relevant recently due to Stardew Valley. Terraria runs on XNA, and that's a dead engine. Microsoft won't update it anymore. It's been abandoned. It has two inheritors that are FNA and Monogame. And basically, there are a lot of things in XNA that are old and can't be upgraded. For example, it's 32-bit, so you don't have a 64-bit and access to a lot of memory due to that. And Stardew Valley recently updated to using Monogame, and that broke things for a lot of users, apparently. So that was interesting. So in Terraria, we're still using XNA for the Windows version of the game, and we're eyeing this very, very carefully to see if maybe we should try and make the jump as well. We know of the benefits, and we know there's a lot we could do if we ever do it, but the last update happened. So it's just very interesting to watch when something very important gets updated.
Yeah, that's why a lot of stuff just stays old. Like Jason was saying, in companies, a lot of time we get a version of something and it's installed in there, and unless there's a reason, like a need to update it, some new feature that we have to have or a critical fix, it's just going to stay on that version because it's stable. So, you guys got any other thoughts on this exploit, or you want to jump on to what's going on with Unity and the new features there?
She's about to say, talking of unstable builds, moving on to Unity.
Let's be talking about a beta build here, right?
Yeah.
Let's pop it up. So, have you guys already made the transition over to 2022.2 for things yet, or are you still using an older version?
I have for experimental projects, but not for anything actually
Yeah.
important, as per usual.
Okay, and same with you, Dave.
Yeah, all my projects are on 2020, and they're gonna. I use 2021 and 2022 to do experiments like Jason, but yeah, no, all my projects are still running on 2020.
And your I assume you're bleeding edge.
My background is 2021.
Cool. Yeah, I've been using 2021.2 for a while, and I'm trying to get used to the new editor layout and workflow. And now I'm just really curious to see how much of that is changing in 2022.1 or yeah, whatever the next version, if any of it's changing, or if my getting used to that is going to pay off. So here's the patch notes for the new beta. Have you guys already gone through this? I'm going to drop the link for
Yes,
this down in the chat too.
I've gone through it in full. There are some very interesting things, though I didn't take any deep notes. There is one thing that's been on my team's wish list ever since we started using Unity, and I'm like, yes, now I don't have to write it myself.
So what's that?
The editor workflows lists that you have a better search function now, and one of these search functions lets you find objects that refer to an asset. And that's, as far as I understand, project-wide, which is something that was frustratingly not in Unity on its own. Instead, Rider did it for us until now.
Okay, to find all of the things referencing a specific asset in the project, so you can find out where those references are and see. What's the main use case that you have for that? I'm just kind of curious. I've seen some in the past, but this seems like a big issue for you. So, what's the biggest thing that you want to do with that?
So it's more based around Team Fear, but Terrar has 5,000 items in the game and a lot of other things, and all the content interweaves with other content. And we have this great need to right-click and find all references to content when something goes awry. And this basically boils down to, well, how can this actually affect something? Do we actually use this anywhere? Can we change it? And this is a very fearful question if you don't know what you're actually changing. So,
right. So you could have some texture that's used for one thing, but then it's being reused somewhere else, and this will help you find that really easily and not accidentally make a mistake in a fix, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for me, it's been also really like this kind of tool. I've written something similar to find all the extra crap that designers and artists threw into projects and committed into source control and keep cleaning it up. Because I found that to be sometime in some projects, at least, that's a huge thing. Right? You got to keep the stuff clean and do some manual cleanup. So, what other cool features were in 2022 that you guys were excited about?
You're seeing one of them on screen right now.
Okay, and what's this one right here? The Spline authoring framework?
Yeah. So they're trying to extend the editor more, and as part of that, you get a bunch of new methods that you can call. And that's going to be a package of its own, which is make of that what you will. But it's nice that effort is being made to make authoring experience better, because this is something that's been a bit lagging behind as they've been working on URP, HDRP, and all that. With 2021.2, we finally have the whole you can extend the scene view, which is fantastic, and I love it. It's just needed in other areas as well, so it's nice that they're taking the steps.
And have you already started extending your scene view?
Yesn't. I made a renderer feature and it broke my entire project, and I don't know what to tell you about that. So apparently, if you have a leak in one of your renderer features, you can actually draw in the editor texture. Like it leaks beyond the scene view, the game view. It actually draws on the editor itself. And when that happens, you don't get access to any of the buttons on certain ways.
So the funny thing is, so I was going to say, somebody asked me about doing this spline editing the other day, and I literally just done a video on how to make a spline editor, and I haven't released it yet. But now they're doing this, and it's like, oh, great, okay.
And now it's
I'll
a
probably
package.
still put it out. Yeah.
I was always lazy. I would always go, oh, I need a spline. I would just log right back in, go to cat-like coding, copy and paste that Unity package again, and just it does it. There we go. I don't care. It does it. It's fine. I'll take though as many features as possible that make it into the package manager, if only so that I can actually have preset sets of manifest stuff. Because there's nothing more frustrating than going, I can only get the project template 60% of where I need it to be because some of the stuff I want is not anywhere else but my particular set of purchased assets, and there is zero way to pre-configure which of those I want to add. So, hey, splines, you always want splines. There's very few scenarios where you don't want a spline for something, and so having them, I'll take it. I don't think it's the biggest thing in the world. It's probably not where I'd put my resources, but if they have multiple people working on multiple things, I'll take it.
Nice. All right, and then it looks like the next thing here was just about profiling and runtime performance. Have you guys read into this part yet?
I've read into it, but it's not relevant to my workflow now, so
Yeah.
it's just nice that they're working towards speeding up compilation times too. That was mentioned somewhere in here. So
Okay, and
they're
then
taking
what
steps
about,
for that as well. Yeah.
what, you want to search for that, or can we look at this netcode real quick? I'm really
Let's go
curious
to
about
Netcode.
this.
Yep.
It looks like they've got a version 1.0.0 pre.
Pre.
I don't know why that. Why I just caught 0.9 something. But okay, this is like the actual version, the first version of it.
Well,
It-
if we're
it
going
re-released
pedantic,
into-
it's semantic versioning. Semantic versioning says one is it's the release version, but this is a previs of it. So you're basically getting a preview of what is to be the released version. So they're locking it down, providing something doesn't come up. This is the one, but they're doing a last run of checks against primary users.
Okay, that's a great explanation. That's actually a good, a good version number. Okay. So this thing, I've been kind of waiting for this and just wondering how this is going to go. I'm a little bit excited, but somewhat hesitant, just because every other network stack has been kind of like put up there and abandoned. I'm hoping that this thing is going to be put up there and be the key thing that everybody uses. But what do you guys think, or where are you guys on this? Are you still totally avoiding this and going with the third-party alternative solutions, or you actually?
The day I see a game on the asset store using Unity's netcode system is the first day I will read the documentation for it.
A game on the asset store or a game on Steam?
Sorry, a game on Steam. Yeah, a game on Steam.
Okay.
The first day I see a game that is published that uses it is the day I know it's possible to publish a game using it. That's my rule.
Doesn't Risk of Rain use Unit?
I'm setting the rule in place now for this one. It doesn't work retroactively.
Okay, fair. This should be an improvement over it, though. As far as my own opinion goes, I am rooting for this, but I have chosen specifically not to use this with my team in our prototyping sets, because the first thing we wanted to do was have easily shareable builds for everything we make. So we had the entire Unity Cloud building set up, where every time we push a commit, it makes a build and puts a link in our Slack channel, so everyone can click and play it on the web browser without any download. And this does not work for the WebGL builds, so we can't play it on the browser. So we went for Photon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it is nice that it supports multiple transports, though. So there is probably a way to make it work. It was just not out of the box, and it wasn't convenient enough that I would spend the days of research just to figure out how to make it work, because it wasn't promising me anything that Photon wasn't giving us. And Photon is like just click and works.
Right. And I think that makes sense. And that's kind of the hard part with competing with the internal solution. It's got to actually be better and easier to use, or at least one of the two, right? It's got to be better or easier to use. And right now it's still early. So I don't know. I'm going to play with it some, but I expect that for retail projects to still use something else temporarily. or at least until this thing gets better and can outperform the alternatives, if that happens.
My keyboard stopped working. That's interesting.
You've been hacked. You got a Minecraft server running, don't you? Okay, so overall technical artist improvements. I am terrible at art, so Dave.
Can you drop me out for a moment? I'm going to try and fix this.
Yeah, let's
I'm just reading it as we're going because
I do like material variants. That sounds nice.
Yeah,
there's a lot of annoying times where you're basically just trying to make fucking 6 materials and they're all different colors for different reasons or something, and it is kind of annoying not having to go the constant property block solution. Being able to just make a bunch of variants might be nice. So yeah,
it's
I can
be
see
really
cases.
Nice. Yeah. I'm excited for this particular one because as Jason is just saying, it's a pain in the ass to do it the other way. So it'd be nice to have this.
Okay, and these variants just allow you to override some property on there and then swap to it.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how do you swap that in code? Do they show that in here? Is it the same? You're like actually swapping the material, or is it something else that they're
Well, my understanding is it works the same as prefabs, right? Like a prefab variant, like you're just making material 1 and then material 1, but slightly different, and then you use that rather than having to rely on copying and pasting settings or whatever.
Okay. That's what I get from it as well. Yeah.
Okay, so you can modify that base material, and then it works just like a normal material.
Yeah, because who hasn't like set up their colors at the beginning of their project? Oh, red, blue, black, and all the rest of it. And all you're doing is making one and then copy and pasting. And then you're like, I want to tweak something on that. And then you have to go and tweak the whole lot. So that's what I'm getting from this. So it's going to be good.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That is a pretty cool feature. It's something I do a lot. I'm a terrible artist, so like I'm constantly duplicating and changing the color things. that's the extent of my art.
Wow! So something I actually care about. Finally, here we go.
2D improvements.
Yeah. So aside from the comical fact that the 2D PSD importer has never up until now supported PSD files. So just to clarify, the 2D PSD importer could not import PSD files. What they actually meant was it would import PSB files, which is the larger format version of it. Apparently, now it supports PSD. So fixing that name alone is probably a good addition. But yeah, it's the workflow sounds good. I use this for UI stuff all of the time. It's a million times easier rather than having to mark 50 small things as marked for UI and dealing with all of the scales and resolutions and stuff. Putting all of that into one PSB file, dropping that in your project, and then just having all of your assets correctly sized for the resolution of your screen in one file, very straightforward. So yeah, having better ways to work with that is something I'm probably going to use.
Yeah, that does seem really cool. And have you guys used PSDs to make your 2D characters before? Is that something you do, URI?
We do not. We do not. We usually make sprite sheets because that's easier to author for everyone involved. And the game is usually... We try to be lighter on UI when we're making games. So most of the art we have is character art. And when we have character art, we want to be able to see the sprites cleanly and set the anchors properly and all that. So we don't.
It's more suitable for puppet style stuff than it is.
Yeah, non-pixel art benefits more from this because this is for bone animation mainly.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking maybe in your upcoming projects, not so much Terraria.
Yeah.
Like have you played with this kind of animation and character creation and setup?
In my free time, yes, but not a lot. And the team is mostly pixel art based, so like everyone holds passion towards pixel art games more than anything else. I am in the exception that I like full 3D HD VFX heavy experiences, but it is what it is.
The HDRP pixel art.
You laugh, but Octopath Traveler exists, so.
So what else do we have here? We got blending modes for sprite master stacks for 2D rendering, and then some cinematic tools.
Yeah, it's mostly about constraints for the Cinemachine virtual stuff. Mainly so that you can work on it for movies, as far as I understand, Betel.
Oh, okay, more of that the video filmography stuff that we were talking about earlier, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, and you can win some. Hey, are those my headphones? Apparently, you can win them. They're not over here. This one's nice. Definitely good headphones. What is that? Just reporting a bug? So yeah, everybody go report a bug and try to win some headphones.
Yeah, and yeah, same snap.
They're amazing headphones. If those, my mom's not watching, but I bought her those for Christmas. They're freaking amazing. They're really good headphones. So go find a bug and report it. I guess you can win some headphones. So anything else in 2022.1 that you guys wanted to mention or were excited about?
Well, one thing I will say is since 2021, I don't know if it happens in both, but maybe it's just me seeing this, but it drives me fucking insane. Remember that little diamond icon you can hit where you can put the label in the scene for giving a null or an empty game object some icon?
Yeah.
That's broken for me, and it has been for the last like 2 or 3 versions. Every time I move objects around, it doesn't consistently track with that icon, and it's only after a while it randomly refreshes and then gives me the little thing, but it doesn't persist and it's not controllable. Basically, something about that little icon label is broken and has been in the last couple of versions of Unity for me. So
you see, you should have kept that to yourself. Then you could have submitted a bug and won a set of headphones.
oh yeah, I want a pair of headphones.
But now everybody's going
You
to
still have
that
time.
bug.
You gotta
and
go verify
you know
it in
me, I
20.
could really do with a pair of headphones.
Yeah, number one.
It was a Christmas present.
It
Wall
is
of
a problem on
headphones.
your end only, though. So
I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to replicate it because I'm pretty sure it can't be just me. I've got like I don't trust that. I'm gonna say Occam's razor. There's a very good chance Unity stuff has things that it does.
yeah,
I'm not seeing it in 21.2.
Just check what version I'm
2F1,
currently having
but
issues with.
who knows? That could just be me.
22.1 is usually where I'm sitting, and that's kind of giving me most of the issues.
Oh, okay. Maybe you
But I
just
also
need to
have maybe.
as far as the features in 22.1 go, I'm really excited for the material variants and the search feature improvements, but that's about it.
Even the search feature stuff, like I look at that and I go, what is the one minimum thing that would get me excited about search is some conditional logic. And I don't see a single indication of a fucking not or an or an and that I can kind of compose this in a way that's more customizable. Can I simply have not X in my thing in the search? Like that should be a fairly first party feature. I want all that has X but not Y, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they already have that in this. We talked about it before, didn't we?
We did with the other, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not like you're doing a visual demonstration. Demonstrate something more interesting. Like, I want to see a clear example of a complex search that isn't predominantly just add this value under this context.
Well,
you want better examples.
And even then, like this again, we talked about this before. This is all good and well, but I use the search through the code, through the asset database search, and none of this is supported there yet. And until it's supported there, this doesn't really help me.
All right. Stop sharing and make Jason huge for a second. Actually, let's just make everybody the same size. So, there's a lot of stuff in there. Thanks for sharing that, by the way, Yori. I hadn't realized that announcement came out, so it's super exciting. Now I'm going to have to upgrade again. That also means that 2021.2 is probably getting close to a final version, which is kind of exciting. Hopefully we'll get the LTS on that soon. So there were a couple other things I wanted to talk about. I'm trying to remember what they all were. But I know you had a big list, Yori, so why don't we just jump on to your next topic instead?
Sure. So, which one is it?
I don't know.
Where's the document again? So, if we're going linearly, I wanted to bring up that a game that's close to my heart, Runefactory 4 Special, came out on Steam recently. And it's a port of a Switch game, which is a port of a 3DS game. That it's a life sim that has a lot of really nice content, and it's got a very pleasant style, and it cares a lot about players' time and experience. Like the UI is very respectful and instant, which is something that I dread in other games of the type. So naturally, as soon as this came out, I wanted to mod it. And luckily enough, the files are rather easy to extract. And as I was making an application to extract all the files of this, which by the way is like 4.5 gigabytes of files that are like 10 kilobytes big. So
Tons of little files.
yeah, a gigantic amount of them. So as I was writing the application to extract them all, I realized that it might be a fun topic to talk about regarding understanding how serialization works and the steps that an application might need to take in order to access the assets that you wanted to access, and why there are a lot of steps engines take in order to optimize this for you that you don't necessarily understand. For example, the whole reason Unity has a resources folder that it loads ahead of time and all that. Does anyone have something in the topic they want to say about that before me, or?
Well, just one thing as a side note that's fun about that. If anyone hasn't heard, Ocarina of Time has now been completely decompiled and rebuilt from. So all of the code has been painstakingly, I imagine, named functions and everything, so it's actually usable. And the way you actually do this is you have to provide your own version of the file, and it will unpack the project, take all of the assets, and then rebuild you a brand new one that has your new source code in it. And what's cool is the checksums match, so they've actually gotten it pretty on point with what it's doing. And my point is, you have to go through all of the same asset serialization process to unpack and repack it. And it's kind of interesting to see this. You can pull it down yourself and run it.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, checksums are a big deal, and also how a game finds resources is also a very interesting topic. One thing that Runefactory does, which was very interesting, is that once I extracted the files and I tried editing one of them and I ran the game, it actually took the unpacked, edited file and used it immediately, which was something I was very surprised of, because the original set of files is just 4 very big bundles. So it's actually looking for an unpacked version before it looks for the packed version.
That must be some dev tool they've got in for handiness sake for doing modifications, right? There's
Yeah.
no way they really. There's no way they'd mean to release that. That's not a thing that
Or
should
for
be.
modding.
Actually, if you want to
Maybe,
laugh
yeah.
about that, when I extracted all the files, there were some bat files in there, and the bat files were actually used to call what's it called, FFmpeg, to compile the audio for the game, and it uses the developer's local file address for FFmpeg
really?
in the path. It was really funny to find. Like
On that
it's
note-
welcome.
On that note,
Yeah,
though,
go
it
ahead.
is very annoying, actually, because you're talking about file paths. So, as per a particular tutorial by someone else on this panel who's talked about using the registry for getting paths for things for installations, that's pretty cool. You'd be surprised how few there are available. You can actually go into the Windows list of installed applications and find the direct paths to apps. Like if you're looking for Discord or something, you can go in and find ones that are installed. But the ones that are available in that list are only the ones that are installed through traditional means. So, despite the fact that my machine has whatever 40 or 50 apps installed, if I go through the registry, like trying to find certain applications, the only ones that are listed under the standard Windows installed registry list of applications, it's like 12, which is really frustrating. Now, you can find them by actively searching the registry and going through this painful process of finding it and checking if matching keys exist. But if you just wanted to say, search for an application with name X on this machine, your best bet searching the bloody program files directory. You won't find it in the registry because registry keys are, a lot of people think the registry is some nice, neat, structured or library. It's not. It's a hot mess of random crap random apps choose to throw in with any IDs they want. So yeah, even if it was, basically my point is FFmpeg is just an app, just a good old .exe that sits in a folder somewhere, and you are shit out of luck if you're going to try to find a way to find someone else's install of FFmpeg wherever the hell it is on their machine when it has no registry entry. And so, yeah, I can see why that might have been baked in, because I wouldn't have had the patience. I would probably have gone one step further and made my own registry entry and put it in there and linked to my own registry thing for it. So at least I'm not putting the hard code path in, but it's still going to have to be a pain in the ass you manage yourself.
I'm going to claim that if you want something to have a consistent path and it's an application, just include the application as part of your project. And then
that is what a lot of them do. Yeah,
run
there's
the
a lot
code.
of like
Yeah.
usually a zip folder full of random exes of various different packers and things like that.
Yeah, and even if you use ShareX, for example, it lets you click a button to download its own version of FmpEg, so it can call the methods it needs, as you may record videos with it.
Or if you're lazy like me, just put everything of remote interest into the path directory. So anywhere you can just say ffmpeg go, and that way I don't have to think about it anymore. So I've got a couple of things that do that. ffmpeg does that. The C# compiler does that. I've written my own folder where I put exes I build, which are command lines for things that I want to do. Like I've said before, I have a button that searches the task manager and kills every chat application, so I don't have to deal with if I'm doing like a recording YouTube video and I've got Discord and Slack and everything pinging me, I can just do JS-K for kill, and it'll kill all chat apps just bluntly. So yeah, I put everything in the path directory because I'm lazy. I just like to be able to open a console somewhere and solve problems.
On that topic, and the tutorial he's talking about is the one that I did previously. I think that's the one you're talking about, isn't it? They're the building installers. Using Inno Setup Compiler, which is a free installer app, you can basically wrap a lot of your own exes in that and then have that set up a load of registries for you. So you can actually set up all the registries and then you can variously talk to those via some other code that I have in that tutorial. So yeah, there's something to look at there.
It is. It's a fun thing to learn how to do. And as well, I don't think, like, if you're not familiar with command line or console stuff, it can seem very daunting because, well, it's cool hackery code stuff. It looks very complicated. But in truth, it's like, rather than double clicking something, a UI pops up and you click a button, it's typing app name -button. Like, it's the equivalent of just passing in the statement you want into it. The unfortunate truth is there's no rules really, though. So you might see all these weird ones. Some things use double dashes, or Microsoft uses /thing : property. Like, there's a lot of variant versions of how you delineate it, because at the end of the day, it's just a giant array of strings. There's nothing, there's no magic in how parameters are passed in. So that can be a bit frustrating. But I would say, if you're not familiar with it, learn to just make a small console application, and you would be amazed how you can do anything you want. You can basically hook into any system or anything, or access processes or run things, or it's like, I used to use all these automation tools like if this then that and various different things, and at one stage I just realized they're like 2 lines of code for most of the things I want to automate. There's very little point in me rolling an application and building a task list using a command pattern that drops down a bunch of stuff to configure some settings, when I can just put a little app in my own tray and go, if I write these 4 characters, run this chunk of code that I wrote that will go to Google and tell me if I have emails, yes or no, something like that.
Yeah. And bat files as well. People should get used to building little bat files. So I make videos every now and again. And obviously I don't want to put those up in Git. I don't want to put those in cloud or anything like that. I want to chuck them up on my NAS on a daily basis, but not constantly because they're really big files. So I have a little bat file that basically, when I make a change to a video or I add something else in there, it can copy that over to a local backup drive, and it copies it all over to my NAS drive as well, which is on a drive. And that you can set up items to run periodically in Windows. So you can set up timed items. So I have it twice a day. The Windows will actually run that bat file at a certain time of the day when I know I'm usually down and not doing stuff on the computer, and it will run that bat file and it will pump all the stuff up onto the NAS drive and onto the local drive as well. So bat files are super cool as well to be doing some of this stuff.
Yeah, and bat files can consume those exes that you've made. So there's a lot of really fun stuff you can do where, like for example, I was doing an experiment with MS Build, and as anyone who's seen me talk about this before, and kind of a teaser for my last video, is I build stuff externally and then I drop it into Unity. And the one part is, in the actual document, you have to at some stage write the line that says, where am I placing the output DLLs? And so for a test, I did a bat file which popped up a dialog, because you can do that. You can pop up dialogues. You can either go the kind of easier way, which is make a little VB file and run that through it, but you can actually pop up dialogue through through batch files as well. And then you pop up dialog, ask a question to the user, and then use the output of that as part of a configuration or a parameter. So I actually use batch files a lot specifically. So like I said, I have a command line application that I set a bunch of commands and I run it and executes. But for anybody who's written their own application in console before, if you don't have a read line, it's just going to close the console. You have to actively choose to echo and display the contents of your application, which can be quite a surprise the first few times you're doing it. And it's getting a bit frustrating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the long story short, if you run a bat file, you can actively ask it to echo things to the screen, and you can have it leave open the console, which makes it easy for you to basically configure settings, have one file you double click, and it's the equivalent of showing a pop-up, running your app, and giving the output and whatever. So yeah, a lot of useful stuff there.
Yeah, you start getting even more when you do a Steam Deck. When you get a Stream Deck and you want to do all these sort of funny applications on that, then you can start really getting into doing some of those things as well. Sorry, Yara, you were going to jump in.
Yeah, I just want to say in Terrar we also use a plethora of bat files to do everything we need. We have one-click solution to build the entire game in a specific way, and then one-click solution to upload it to the Steam backend. And we also have one specifically for our modding community. They rely on the game build hashes in order to verify if they're installing on a proper version. So we have something that just generates a snippet of all the hashes that we want to give them, and then we can just send it off. And also, regarding bat files, you can actually use them for opening files. When you select an application that you want to open, they count as an executable. And you can put your own code there. So I did something for my Blender files, or rather any model file I have, to go through a bat file that launches Blender with a Python file that takes the path argument and then does whatever I need for it to open in a specific format in a way that I like when I double-click the file. So I set that as my association for all the model files. It's really nice when it happens.
Yeah.
Like FBX files don't natively open in Blender. You have the FBX importer and you have to provide a path for it. So if you want to import it with specific settings,
you know what? That gives me a good point. A common complaint I have with Unity is the fact that Unity still to this date has not decided to make a .unity project file. I don't understand. I still don't understand why they don't just have a single file that's dropped into the root that just executes Unity with a parameter for the project you're in. It would be the simplest thing in the bloody world to make a single format. They have a million other file formats. Why does even Fmod have its own button to open its project, but Unity as a game engine doesn't have an executable file? It just relies on an arbitrary folder. It drives me insane. You could probably do
because
something
which
like that.
version of Unity do you want to open?
Because they
That
spent
should be
all
in
that
the
time on
file,
their
already
hub.
configured.
They spent all that time on that hub. They want you to use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, one note, because somebody brought it up in the chat. Steven says you could use a console application to write a file system watcher to monitor changes to a folder. Yes, you can. But if I was doing that, I would go full hog. There's no reason to write a console app at this stage. What you should write is an operating system service. You can write a Windows service, register it with your servers list, and then you'll have an option to have it automatically start at start or stop and resume. And then that process has a poll rate, which will poll, and you can do different things, including register your file system watcher. And that's much more powerful because it's part of the actual operating system run cycle. There's a lot of really fun stuff you can do with that. And you can even go one step further and write a second one whose sole purpose is to monitor the first one, and they both monitor each other. So if either of them drop, the other one reinitializes the other. So you can end up with a scenario where you can have a system service that runs when the computer starts and will make sure it's always running. And you've probably seen this if you've ever had to open up your task manager and delete like an Adobe process, and it just pops right back up again. And you're like, I tried to close this. It's like, oh, well, one of the other ones is heart beating and reinstantiating the instance version.
One of the other 30 services that's running from Adobe is actually running that. You have to go find the one that kills them all. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Oh, and actually, just a side note too, because it's a fun topic. If you are playing with a file system watcher, read the documentation super carefully, because what a lot of people don't understand is it's got a bunch of events which sound really intuitive. You've got file changed, file deleted, or all these stuff. The changed event on the file system watcher includes multiples of events, because if you actually dive into how a lot of this works, delete is kind of technically a rename. There's all these other like nuances that basically mean if you're registering events and trying to do something, oftentimes they won't do what you think they're doing. So print out all of the events from a file system watcher, and you have to enable monitoring. If you don't enable monitoring, it won't monitor. And there's also, you have to choose the enumeration of which flags you're monitoring for. Either way, my point is the file system watcher class is really cool and really powerful, but it's one of the most fucking frustrating classes I've ever used in anything Microsoft has done, because nothing does what you think it does until you really pay attention to what asinine standards they put on it. So I've wrapped that a long time ago and made my own class called a monitorable file or monitorable folder, because I was not going to deal with the completely confusing structure that they've picked for that. So yeah, file system watcher, just be careful with that one.
I wanted to get back a bit to the topic about how game files are actually addressed when an application runs, because I found something rather expected, but then it became an internal monologue of how do games actually do this, where for the serialized files in Runefactory 4, you actually have to go to the end of the bundle file, and that includes an address to a table of all the files in it, and then those let you jump to the address of where everything is stored. And it brought me to the thought about how when you have a collection of things, and there's a lot of them, and sometimes you want to just parse through all of them, and other times you want to access something specifically, but you don't know where it's at. Often we would make two collections for a dictionary and a list of sorts that anyone can address. And it's really interesting because for this kind of jump table for assets is something that you do mainly so you don't have to read an entire file at once. It's so that you can stream and read only what's absolutely necessary. Like, I jump to this address, I only read this many bytes, and this is it. And
which, by the way, I'm going to use that topic to rant about something that's been really bothering me. So, I've only put a couple of videos on my YouTube channel, and one of the first ones I put up was using this idea of a text file to store data and create basically structured data. And my favorite comment that I've received about 50 times throughout the video, constantly in multiple comments, is, why not just use JSON? JSON does all the things you're doing. Why bother with all of this stuff? Well, that thing that he just said right there explains exactly why. Because if you use JSON, it's called a structured data format. It is a full thing. If you read line 5 of a structured data format, it means nothing. It is part of a gibberish something or other. And you have to read the whole thing. If you've got a JSON file with content in it with 1 million entries, you're going to have to read 1 million entries in the memory. Now, there are kind of ways around it, but fundamentally, you don't know what structure that's in. If you have a flat file format, it can be read from top to bottom. You can store an ID. You can return to exactly where you were. You can jump to any entry you like. You can do 1 million different things, such as, if it's a flat file structure, you can even read it in parallel. You can run off 50 different processes that are running different chunks of different IDs. There's a lot you can do with it. So, to really hammer home this point, there's a difference between file formats you would use for storage versus ingest. Ingest is when you have data here and you want it here. And sometimes you'll have a different format in between, oftentimes in a flat file format, oftentimes just something pipe limited or something. So, for everyone giving me the advice that I don't know what JSON is, I do, it's my name. But what I also know is when you have a large system of data and you want to move it over here, you don't use a structured file format. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a very good example of exactly what I wanted to bring up. So thank you for that, Jason.
Trust me, I'm more than happy to have an excuse to have that rant.
It's also something that is very relevant regarding music streaming, if you've ever done that in your files. There is a reason that game music files get to be this gigantic and they don't cripple your entire memory capacity on games. It's because the games use streaming for music files, so they only read very little amounts of data at very specific addresses so that they can play just 1 second ahead and read the next second as they're doing it. Basically putting rails and taking them from behind every time, just so you don't have to pay the memory cost of everything and loading the entire file early on, because that can be cripplingly long.
Which again gets right back to the heart of what it's called. The term is serialization. And if you actually Google what serialize means, it means to put in a serial order, sequence it. Why do you sequence it? So you know the sequence. It gives you the ability to have a control over parsing that sequence. If it wasn't in a sequence, you wouldn't be able to jump to a point and repeat from that point or move back and forth. So there's a lot of systems and software that rely on the concept of it being structured in set sizes, which gets to the whole concept you might have heard of called header files, which is sometimes you preface the data with the format of the data. So the first thing you read is how to read the rest of the data, which is really cool. It means you can send a chunk of data and have the first piece tell you, here's how the rest of this goes. And as long as that's a set size every time, you have a lot of power in structuring data in interesting ways. It's a really interesting topic, actually. There's a lot that goes into it. In fact, another one is with file systems. Depending on which version of .NET you're using, you'll have different tools at your disposal for file parsing. So a lot of people would use new file info or file.get folders or get files or all these different variants. There's one called enumerate files, and that's relatively new as per, I think it was 4 that might have added that. And the reason you'd use that separately is because if you use, if you open a stream, you can read files, you can read the contents of files sort of bit by bit. If you're trying to read all the files in a directory, you'd often have to load an array into memory, and that's the whole bloody thing, all of the files in all of the structured data. If you use an enumerator, which we talked about enumerators before, but an enumerable is the result of enumeration. And so basically it gives you the promise of the ability to iterate through a collection of files. And what's really interesting is if you read things staccato through your file system, you might think that it would be faster to read. I'm not going to be too complicated. I don't get into this. All I'll say is, if you use something that is enumerable, you are in a position where it's iterating one by one, which would normally be slower in certain cases than it would be to load the whole thing at once. But the power of enumeration means you can enumerate and then go through like threading process and throw it the whole thing on a separate thread. So long story short, it's an interesting lesson that it can be faster to do things slower, because if you do it slower, you can use more resources on the machine when doing it slowly than to do it the conceptually fast way of doing it all at once. So this idea of taking stuff that's structured is immensely important to performance, because the more structure you have, the more hacks and tricks you can do to like jump at certain points, divvy it up, make multiple tasks out of it, structure it in different bytes and things. There's a whole load of cool things you can do. So it's not always as straightforward as just pick one solution. It's sometimes there's more under the hood.
So, hi Salim.
Hello. Forgive me, I'm having some sound issues today. Not sure why. Haven't changed setup at all, but
You
how
sound
you guys
great.
doing? Thanks. How you guys doing? Missed me last week.
A lot.
Definitely.
talked
We
about-
did some resume reviews going over them. It was a lot of fun. You
Yeah,
missed
we
out.
also talked about game pitches. Should have been there.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
one of the things we were looking at doing next week for everybody watching too was just taking some game pitches and just giving some feedback on them. So just people who have a game pitch, ideally something that they've already shared publicly, that they're totally fine with sharing publicly because it's not going to be secret anymore. If you want to share it, get some feedback from us and everybody in chat and the audience and stuff, just thoughts, ways that you can improve it, questions, that kind of stuff to just work on your pitch. That'll be the time. So we'll start taking those, I guess, today. I'll send out a form in email and I'll put it in the link here where everybody can start just submitting those. If you have a pitch for your game, something that you want to share, and just send it out. We'll take a quick look and we'll go over as many of them as we can next week and just kind of give whatever good feedback we can to help people improve their future pitches. Obviously, none of them will be published by us unless Salim's planning on publishing one of these pitches. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, we'll try to give some feedback and help people out as best we can.
Do you want to just like give them a pitch template so everyone can kind of do it in the same way, or just free for all?
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it would be beneficial to see the free-for-all version, mainly so people can see if there's a better way to do things than they thought there is.
Yeah, because I've got like one-page templates and all kinds of stuff that I've used throughout my career.
I would say that's a good life lesson, though, is if you're ever tasked with something like this, going, I would like to put my stuff out there, like Google template, like find one
Yeah.
first is usually a good idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and Saleem's are always nice and pretty and full of the interesting stuff. Like a side effect of him working on stuff for so long. Same with Dave's. Dave has some really good. I don't know about the pitch. Yeah, even the pitch docs. Think about it. The pitch docs read like full design docs almost.
Yeah, I imagine Dave's are pretty good. I mean, I've seen a couple.
Yeah, I have pitch for games and then pitch for business and stuff like that. They're very different. If you go and look for a pitch template, don't just use a startup pitch template. Go and look up game pitch template. It's very different. If you come up with a problem solution page for your game pitch and it's like, I've seen the problem in game and I want to fix game, but no. So yeah, they're very different types.
And also make sure there's a difference between a pitch deck, depending on what you're going for.
Yeah.
You could come up with the wrong thing if you don't have the right term for what you're looking for.
And there's elevator pitches and longer pitches and all the rest of these sort of things. So there's a different scenario. And the elevator pitch obviously comes from when you're standing with an investor and they're going to a meeting and they're like, tell me what you're going to do now. As I'm going to this other meeting and then I'm going to just not listen to you anymore. So that's where that comes from. And it has to be quick compared to a full game pitch that you might be asked to give to somebody. And then that's going to be a lot longer, a little bit more interesting. But look them up. Look up. There's great resources out there to find this stuff.
And the funny thing is that you say elevator pitches are really quick. And most people think, oh, well, that should be super simple. But if you have a big idea, trying to actually refine it down to an elevator pitch to get someone to go, yeah, is actually fairly difficult. That's why I like doing one-page pitches. If there's an idea or something that I'm making, I just try to like get it down on one page and like look at it and refine what I'm actually trying to get across. Because elevator pitches are super difficult.
Yeah,
and
sometimes the way to think
advice
about it. I was going to say the way to think about it sometimes is that an elevator pitch is to a non-captive audience. Like if you're doing a full-on pitch, you've been invited to a company to give a full-on pitch, or you're passing a full-on pitch for somebody to read the slide because they've asked about it. Whereas an elevator pitch, you've met somebody and you're just giving it, and they can walk off and they don't have to listen to it or anything like that. So it has to be exciting very quickly, so you don't go through the gump of all the other stuff going to it. Sorry, Jason, you can jump.
No, I was just going to say, and the advice of it too, which is funny, is the advice you'll be given when making an elevator pitch will be very different than the advice you'll be given when you're making a proper pitch. For example, it is a good idea in an elevator pitch to play the classic structure of it's like X, but with themes of Y and has Z in it, which is a very succinct way of saying, if you're familiar with these structures and tropes, I've got something to hang a hat on. I know what you're going for. And then if they get your attention, you can then go in and whatever. Like if you say it's like Cooking Mama, but you know, there's dragons and whatever, like you can, that's a very quick, I see what you're going for. But if they're not interested in Cooking Mama like games, you're already like, they can very quickly assess what it is they want from what you're pitching. But in the opposite approach, if you're doing an actual pitch of some kind, you don't want to hang your structure of your document on, oh, it's those games, but with changes. You actually want to go into, why does anyone care? Because once you've gotten someone's attention, you actually want to structure as to why this and not the other 50 people who also think they can make blank with blank but with a slightly different style on it. So you have to differentiate yourself at that stage. So vastly different opposing advice.
Yeah. I do want to say that if you are desperate to get your pitch across, try and go through all the ones mentioned earlier and make sure you can do them all for your pitch that you're making. Because if you do get the elevator pitch across and then someone wants the full one and you don't have the full one, that's going to be a problem, and vice versa. One other thing is, as Jason mentioned just now, that if you're asking someone to extrapolate based on ideas that already exist and that they already know, you're setting yourself up for failure because they know what they like from this. They expect certain things from this. And if you're changing, you're only decreasing the value they think they know has. When you don't give them that as a base, you're saying, here's the value I'm giving you. Think about it more deeply. And that's
it's also
going to work in your favor.
It's worth knowing who you're pitching to as well. Like if you're pitching to someone who you're trying to get to finance your project versus pitching somebody who's like pitching to an audience is very, very different. Like, one thing that you will definitely get wrong, I guarantee it, is if you try to pitch to somebody and you're trying to get funding, or you're trying to pitch to a publisher or something, you will most likely pitch the game as if it's this really cool project everyone wants to be part of. What you won't be pitching is you and why it should be you and can you make it. One of the most common mistakes I see is people having a really great pitch and then saying, okay, who's your team? Oh, it's me and my friend Martin. Okay, do you have a programmer? No, we don't know what we're doing. So it's like, the pitch isn't just the project you're making. It's, can you make this project if you're asking for money? So that again, it's a very different situation there. But if you're, just be wary that whoever's going to ask you about your project, they're going to have questions in mind. And I've seen people be absolutely like floored by this. They're really excited, they give a great pitch, and then someone says, okay, how much will it cost to make? How long will it take to make it? Who's your team? They're like, oh, I don't know any of those things. Well, then get out of my fucking office, right? Like, why are you here? And these
How did you get here?
clueless.
Security?
Yeah, exactly.
I got a pitch for you. Get the hell out.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like that last bit on Kickstarter. Who's going to be making this, and what's their experience? Have they made a game before? You know, nobody's going to give you a ton of money if you've never made a game or released it before. Yeah. And by the way, that's not hating on Martin. Martin is amazing. He's been a developer for many, many years, and we love him.
I do want to bring back the idea of extrapolating ideas based on things other people know, where it's not going to work in your favor. And I wanted to say that if you are going with that approach, be very, very careful about what you're saying, because what you think you're saying may not be how the other person translates it. When you're saying it's football but with X, you're actually saying it's a team-based game and it's oriented around controlling a portion of the map, etc., etc. The other person might translate it, oh, it's a sports game, but you're actually saying dragons and swords now, and they don't know exactly what to think. So be very careful about how you're presenting your pitch and try not using other things as a base.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you're doing a pitch, you should definitely start out by just giving a definition of what your game is. Third-person action, blah, 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 in some way that's relatively short, relatively succinct. But also, like, one thing that I found, and I've definitely been guilty of this when I come up with an idea, I'm super excited about it, is that I end up like writing up something and I'm being in no way objective because this is something that's cool to me. But you definitely have to think, you have to pull yourself out of that and be objective and ask yourself why you, other person, would take your idea, and just not get mired in the details of you really want to play this thing, because you're trying to make something for someone else. So you have to make sure you identify who those people are. You have to call that out in some way, shape, or form. But absolutely define what game you're making before you even use any examples. And when you do use examples, if you feel it's the best way to get it across, then explain the concept of whatever example you're doing. You know, this thing from Dancing from Cookie Mama, instead of just saying the game itself. To Yuri's point about people just, you know, form these big ideas. But the first thing you do definitely is just give a quick, like, 1 or 2 line description of what your game is, a mission statement or something, so they know exactly what you're presenting to them.
And
one
of the most.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to say that if you are going to try and use anything else, wait until the other person asks or brings that thing, because then they have a certain level of this information that you can use going forward, instead of throwing random terms at them and then losing them if they don't know the exact title you're speaking of. Like, if you're saying it's Starbound but with, doesn't work if they don't know Starbound. If you're saying it's a fantasy game, they can sort of extrapolate.
Yeah, and the other part that drives me absolutely insane is when you're talking about your game, kind of what Salim was saying. It's like you care about it, like it's your thing. You're passionate about it, you know it very well, and so you're already sold. So the kind of thing you forget is they're not. And one of the most frustrating things people do is where they dive into like this dramatic soliloquy of the lore of their project. So you're in this world and all of this stuff and whatever, and you're just sitting there going, okay, what's the game? What am I doing? Like, what is? Like, I'm not here to read your novel, right? Like, it's so frustrating when people miss what their pitch is, right? Like there is something in that project that makes it worthwhile or interesting, and you have to know what that is. And it's not, in most cases, going to be the 50-page lore you've written for the universe, which
Yeah.
does two things in my mind. One, not only does it bore the pants out of whoever's listening, but it also the this is the separately from pitching specifically about game. This is just any time you're telling a story or presenting anything, people lose interest roughly every 7 minutes on cycle. They will lose interest in whatever you're saying consistently throughout what you're doing. So you need to get their attention. And if you're presenting your project, you want to leave things that are interesting. So you want to be leaving hooks in your pitch where you talk about something that's like, "Ooh, I want to know more about that thing," but then don't tell them. And you keep going, and then you drop a little bit more, and you keep going. So if you just dump your lore at the start, you're often going to go, "Oh, you do this thing and whatever," and then you fight a big boss, and it's like, "Oh, I don't care." If you sell an idea that you're an adventurer and you go on this stuff and you collect these magical crystals and you do all this kind of stuff, and then later on it's like, well, what do the crystals do? It's like, oh, I haven't told you yet. We're going to get to, because you're giving them the experience of what the game experience will be for someone consuming that project, and you want to walk them through the adventure of learning about it, which literally is what the game will be. If you start by you collect these magical crystals to build an epic robot to fight or whatever, it's like fine, but if you drop that halfway through your pitch as you're going through it, suddenly it's more interesting. So tell a story with your pitch and don't just drop your entire lore in one chapter.
Yeah, user stories is a good way to approach it. But what would you guys say is like the average time that you would consider an elevator pitch? 60 seconds, 2 minutes? If you were literally doing it, what would you?
Oh, an elevator pitch is a minute.
1 minute?
Yeah, don't go longer than that. If they want to learn more about it, you'll continue the conversation. But the elevator pitch is just to get them hooked and get them involved and start talking, and be prepared to talk longer if the minute goes well. But yeah, you should aim for a minute, because how long does it take you to get from one floor in an elevator to another?
That's a big
Sometimes
building.
it's less than that. Yeah.
And then
less than that, yeah.
And you time each of your pitches to the audience and the target and what you're going to be doing. I mean, I've been in lots of big pitch competitions where you're on stage for 5 minutes and then people are going to ask you lots of questions afterwards.
Yeah.
And that obviously is 5 minutes with, as Jason was just saying, a few hooks that they're going to pick up on and they're going to ask you afterwards about, that you can talk in more depth about, because the 5 minutes is not where it ends when you're doing one of these big pitch competitions like you see on TV. There's a panel of 3 judges and they're going to be asking you more questions, and that's how long that period goes on for. Sometimes that's timed, sometimes that's not. And if it's not timed, you can be up there for quite a while if your thing is interesting and they're interested in it. You could also be up there for a long time if your thing's terrible and they're going to rip you a new one. But yeah, timing is very accurate. But for an elevator, be quick.
And again, to lead into that, the biggest trick you can do is you can get into a dangerous territory where you've got a 5-minute pitch you want to say, and you know that it doesn't really get interesting until you explain minute 3 or whatever. Your trick is, if it's the 1-minute pitch, again, just like I said with the larger story, if you just say, oh, it's Dark Souls with underwater, it's like, well, you've given them nothing to hook onto there. There's no questions, there's no things. It's like, oh, I can imagine what that might be like because you've given me nothing. It's like, but if you give them something, if you give anything in part of that pitch that's like, it's like da-da-da-da-da, but then you leave something that's like, and you have a talking cat with you. And it's like, well, why is there a talking cat? Suddenly, just leaving it with something means you can overrun your 1 minute by giving them a 1 minute, and then they're going to have to say, because everyone will be like, okay, but why is the cat talk? They're just gonna, and now you've bought yourself more time because you're playing this game back and forth of, it's like, oh, well, the cat talks because it ate one of the mushrooms from the planet we were on. It's like, well, what the fuck? Okay, now I need to, and now you're buying yourself more structure and time with your story, and it's a game. You have to understand attention is a limited resource, and you want to portion out your story so it's the most interesting.
I'm going to say. Yeah, I wanted to say that for my end, elevator pitch actually meant, in my own head up until now, is you have 5 sentences, make them count. And if you actually make them buy you more time for more sentences, this is how you win it. If you carefully construct what you want to say to that someone else, and to get your point across enough that they want to ask you questions and buy you more sentences to tell them. If they ask a question, you have to respond with at least 1 or 2 sentences. So that's a win every time.
And the other thing I was going to say is, like we were talking about resumes before, like interviewing and all the rest, all these things are living documents. If you go in and you pitch something to somebody and they're not interested, you can ask them why they're not interested and they'll give you feedback. Or if they're asking you lots of questions that should be in your pitch deck for the next time round, keep building your document, keep iterating it. It's a living document that you're going to go into, because a lot of times you won't pitch and get it the first time. You might go to the next investor or whatever, or however you're doing it, next publisher, and you've taken your learnings from the first one and gone to the next one.
And the important part about that is being willing to take the feedback as negative and listen to it and not just get upset about it. Another lesson that I learned early in my career is you just have to be able to take feedback and learn, because it's all learning. It's all, even if someone's just being a complete and utter asshole to you, they're going to say something. They're going to do something that's learning experience. So you have to take it all in, and like I said, document it and change and grow and just practice. Do a 60-second pitch yourself in a mirror. Like it's kind of weird and goofy, but I mean, just do it. The 5-sentence thing is actually like a good guideline, I think, like, because, to Jason's point, it's there's some keywords and there are some things that you're saying and then kind of dropping. Don't just go down a feature list, because again, like a bunch of games have same features. Like, what makes your game, or what can you say to make people go, oh wait, what was that part you just skipped over? Can you explain that further? I think that's all, like, that's how you get people in, and once they're in, man, you're in control of it all.
Yeah, it's all a video game. The first fail is the first life. You can still play a game.
Cool. I wanted to just jump in real quick. I know it's quiet, but just to tell everybody that I've updated the link for the giveaway. It's down in the description. I've been spamming it in chat too. I'm going to be giving away our writer license. Does that link work? I think that one works. Maybe not. That's probably the wrong one, actually. I just pasted the wrong one. But anyway, I'll put in the real link. Make sure that you sign up and enter. You can win a hoodie. And I'm going to do a hoodie and a notebook in the first giveaway, and then a writer key in the second one. So that way, whoever wins the second one, which will be a slightly bigger giveaway, win a 1-year writer license. Thanks again to JetBrains for sponsoring that, too. It's freaking awesome. It's, again, one of my favorite tools. The hoodies, I just have them on my shoulder, so I've been wanting to say this and get them off of my shoulder for a minute. There's this one with the robot that Frank designed that I love, the little 3D face there. That dude's cool as shit. There's this. This is that same thing in black. You can see it. It's cool. But then there's the two GameDev ones, the ones that Andreas came up with for Black Friday that I really like too. So I just wanted to show them real quick so everybody who's picking them later can check them out. So there's the GameDev one, written in binary. This GAME, and then there's the one with no clues at all. That's just in binary. So it's just the GameDev thing. So I just wanted to share those and also beg everybody to hit the like button. And after you sign up for the giveaway, go share the stream so your friends can watch you win live. Do it right after you share it. Right after that. So I'll drop the link in there one more time, and it's in the description. Everybody can go enter, and then we'll do a giveaway from there, and then we'll do another giveaway from the writer people in just a little while. So here, let me drop that link in there one more time, and then we can just jump back onto normal stuff. Here, let's show that form too. There's the beautiful form. So that's what you're going to do. Just put in your email and your YouTube name so you can contact the winner. I assume that whoever wins will be here, and we'll just send them a message and let them pick. And maybe we'll even do like the first place and second place winners, because I've got a new system in there that I want to show. So that was it. Sorry to interject into the interesting conversation, but I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to win and that everybody hits the thumbs up button. So please hit that thing. And I think you guys all got. Did I send you codes for hoodies already, Dave? Oh no, I missed you. Okay.
Don't use me, because I've literally been in hardware mode this week, just ripping the simulator apart and putting things back together and getting it running. So I've been ignoring everybody this week. So
okay,
I didn't get any codes.
I know you got codes. I saw yours come through. Grabbing some hoodies and stuff. So
I tried that already, but he told me he notices when it came through. So.
Oh. All right. right. So there were some questions too on this pitching thing. I saw one that popped up about outsourcing the idea of pitching. Is that something that you guys have ever seen done, where like somebody externally was doing the pitch for the game for a company, or like they bring somebody in to do a pitch because they're just not able to pitch it or not successfully pitching it?
I can imagine it happening. Design consultant
Yeah.
or something, find them and have them do it for you. But that feels kind of icky.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
wouldn't recommend having somebody else go to the pitch for you,
Yeah.
because that's going to be a big no-no
It's
from the
so
investors
weird.
on the
So-
other side. They're going to be like, why is the other person not here? Why do you
So-
hire this actor?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so-
odd.
I can see the logic behind this if somebody has a certain level of either stage fright or inexperience talking to other people and grabbing their interest, which is something that is important if you want someone to invest money in you. So they could inform someone who is experienced in talking to others, give them all the necessary information, and pray to God that they have the passion to deliver it properly. But it does feel a bit icky because in the end of the day, you're not making a performance, you're trying to get a serious business going. And if somebody has edge questions that are very privy to the well-informed on the project, the well-informed on the project need to be there. So outsourcing it is a bit unlikely.
Like at best, I understand that as some of the comments are just people might struggle with a language barrier, or they might not be confident on it. There's a lot of cases where that might be an issue, and that's fine. If you've gotten yourself in a room to do a pitch and you might have an opportunity to use some presenting equipment, maybe you could have somebody who's more eloquent than you or whatever could read the pitch and do a video presentation, but you want to be there to answer questions, because the last thing you want is, as soon as like the pitch is only getting interest, and once you've got interest, that's where the hard stuff happens. That's where people are going to press you on whether it's actually going to be a good idea, and nobody's going to be able to answer that like the person who's actually making it. So I could say, yeah, maybe you could have somebody give a video or like pre-record a YouTube video with other people or whatever, but you want to be the person in the room. In fact, actually, oftentimes you'll get a question like, who here's making, are you on the project, what are you doing? And then if they're like, oh yeah, we have these people, but then the lead dev is whatever, it's like, well, why aren't they here, right? That's, if you don't even care enough to come to pitch your own
Yeah.
project, why should we care, right? Like that's not going to do well for you at all.
And if
At
you're
the end of the
pitching
day,
to go ahead.
they're investing in you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're investing in you and your team, not the game you're going to create. Essentially, they're investing in you to build that game for them. Or if you're running a startup, they're investing in you to run the startup and take it forwards. So if you've got somebody on your team that's better at pitching, that's not a terrible thing. They can do it. But as Jason Story just said, you be there to take those questions and answer those questions.
Yeah.
I often have a CBO or a COO that will do the pitching. But I'll be there when that's going on, because that's just how it works.
Yeah, and if you're in the room, then that means that you've gotten past the elevator pitch or whatever it may be, which is super nerve-wracking in general, because it's just like doing a cold call. If you're in the room, you got time to practice. If you have a date that you're gonna, so I mean, there's really no excuse for you not being there. If there's a language barrier, a translator or some sort, Jason's point, you got presentation equipment, but I can see to the Williams comment here. Yeah, if you want to get someone to come in and help you do that type of stuff, that makes sense, but you got to be there. Like that is definitely crazy. As a part of prep, you just figure out what questions they might ask and be prepared for those types of things. If you've got a fleshed out idea or somewhat fleshed out idea, then you can probably think about some things people might ask that may not be familiar with some of the concepts you're putting down or stuff like that. Just think about that stuff and practice, and you'll come out just fine. If you got stage fright, you kind of get into a flow, and you'll be all right, because you've already kind of thought about these types of things.
And honestly, like one of the biggest issues with this, forget about games in particular, just one bit of like life advice for any time you're selling somebody something. This may seem counterintuitive. Nobody likes being sold to. being sold to means you are actively trying to convince someone of something that they probably don't care about or want to know about. Everyone feels icky about being sold to. So anytime anyone is standing in front of you, talking at you, not with you, it's going to be uncomfortable. And so the biggest mistake a lot of people make in any scenario, whether it's college presentations, whether it's presenting your project or game idea, whether anything it is, you're going to be in a situation where you're kind of, because it's like a safety mechanism. You on stage or in front of the presentation is going to like blank everyone else out and talk vaguely at the room so that you can kind of like keep on your notes. But what'll happen is you can start to become this person that's not you, that's just this like you're just firing off bullet points and ideas, and that just naturally turns people off. So the truth is that the awkwardness, the you-ness of like I don't feel comfortable up here, and I'm a bit, I'm kind of mumbling a bit and I'm talking. You may not think it, but that'll actually serve you better, providing you can stay on task and on point. So if you know your own project, give the pitch, but just like you're talking to a friend, and then when you're done, have a conversation. And so realistically, 70% of a pitch is just trying to talk to the other person. And if you keep in mind the goal is that you think you have something cool and you think they would think it's cool too, and if you're both passionate about it, you could work together and make something. It's not as hard as you think it is. Honestly, the number one, it's the same with job interviews. I talked about this before. It's passion. If you walk up there and go, okay, I have this really cool idea, right? And you go into it with like, you're not bullshitting them. You genuinely believe it's a cool idea. You think it's unique, but you've done your homework, so you're not making it up. You'll be fine. Like, just try to avoid falling into the trap of being this like just machine that's throwing information at somebody, because then they won't like it, because now you've said to them, the wall here is the quality of the information. I'm going to talk at you like you're a machine who delivers money, and then you're going to talk at me like I'm a machine that produces products, and we're going to figure out the barrier. Or you could just be two people trying to make cool stuff. So I would just generally, try to, again, there is a level of showmanship to it, but like, be personable, I guess, is the advice I would kind of summarize with.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, just be yourself, whether it's a showman or not. Just be yourself. They appreciate the passion. You're the one with the idea, and you're telling them, "Hey, this is me. This is my idea. This is why I think it'd be cool. Here's what it's about." I mean, whatever your personality, it's not necessarily, you don't have to use showmanship. You just use whoever you are. Your personality could be whatever, but just be genuine in how you speak about it. And just get to the good points. Like I said, have a conversation with people. That is key. But ultimately, like if you're not there and you're not talking about it, then it just seems kind of weird. Yeah, and also, I mean, just look up some public speaking techniques. I had learned public speaking like literally on the fly. In ninth grade, they asked me to do Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech and learn it in like 2 days, and I had to memorize that thing and do it and present it in front of a bunch of people. The first sentence I messed up, but I stopped, I recovered, and I just destroyed that thing. So you just have to look up some techniques. You just have to practice. I mean, I can't say it enough. And once you get in the flow, once you think about what you're presenting, like if you're that passionate about it, then all this stuff just becomes white noise. You just keep going.
Yeah, and also if any haters or people who don't believe in your pitch try to give you bad criticism, don't immediately try and curve your way into their preferences, because they might be testing that you believe in your values. If you change on a whim anything in your pitch, it might show that you don't really care about your own pitch, which will turn away a lot of people because they see that you don't actually have a passion for it. You're just trying to sell them something, which again goes back to you're being sold to instead of you're being talked to. And
100%. That's one. Actually, I forget to mention that all the time. On a personal level, if I meet somebody who's got zero conviction, I'll never want to work with them. If it feels like what they're saying is sort of this meandering, mumbling thing they don't really care about, yeah, that to me, actually, it's funny you mention that, is one of my most. That's like an instant shutdown. Whether I'm hiring someone, whether I'm working with somebody, I don't care. If I feel like what you're saying, you don't even believe it, I don't want to fucking work with you. That's a major thing.
It's the equivalent of a dead fish handshake. It's just like, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah.
Yeah. And one more thing beyond that, Salim mentioned this earlier, but do take bad criticism with as many grains as you need to charge by it, because when people tell you they don't like your pitch isn't good, there's problems with your pitch, or I don't like you and how you presented your pitch, they're trying to say, I am in pain here, I don't know, just do something. And just like doctors will tell you there's a solution for it, and the solution changes based on what the person describes, it may not be what they expected, but it's your job to figure out how to correct something, not follow blindly what they're saying. They're just describing, I am in pain because, and I'm experiencing this and this in your pitch, like you are too focused on the story, or etc., etc. And it might be that, or that you're just describing things in a way that ties too much into the story instead of, I may not be doing the best job at explaining it. What I'm trying to say
No, you got it. I got it.
Yeah, just try to analyze carefully what you're being told and don't blindly follow problem A, problem B, problem C. Maybe even open that up for a dialogue. If you already determined that you failed, they might still be willing to help you figure out how to improve it better. It's an ongoing thing, so carry it on.
And a big part of that is also knowing your audience. You're talking about the effect of somebody's not gelling with your pitch. They don't like it. It doesn't feel right. They don't get what the idea is. And part of that could be you just pitch the wrong thing. Now, realistically, this could just be down to you. Again, who are you pitching to? This is said already in that video. The things I hate about your pitch. It's worth watching. But it is true. Why would you pitch a mobile game to a AAA shooter producer, right? At the end of the day, and that's kind of a hyperbolic example, but it's also down to people. If you're pitching to your friend whether your idea is good and they don't play the kind of game with which you're trying to pitch to them, your best is going to be a lukewarm reception, right? So you have to know what you're pitching and who it's for. And that's how it's going to avoid, hopefully, that issue, that they're going to look at you and go, oh, well, maybe if you added more guns. Oh, well, this person likes games with guns in it. That's if you're going to pitch them the next, Harvest Moon, that's not their kind of thing. They're going to pitch you things that pivot it towards what they like. And that may not be good advice. That could just be advice that's for them, but they're not your audience.
How about Harvest Moon with bullet trees and talking cats?
I knew you'd say it.
Yeah. Is it running a bit as soon as I saw you? How long would it take?
You left it out there for me, man. I got to do it.
I'm glad Talking Cats have made it into the canon for the universe we're building. It's good.
The World of JSON. That's the name of the game.
So there was a comment that Corey made earlier that had popped up that I just wanted to mention out loud about Toastmasters being a good way to learn public speaking.
Yep.
And I just have to totally agree with it. Anybody who hasn't checked it out should definitely try Toastmasters. It's cool, totally free, great way to practice public speaking without, well, I guess it's not totally free. It's close to free, but a great way to practice public speaking without any fear or really concern. It's super chill in my experience, and a great experience all around. I don't know if you guys have all tried it. I assume you have, Salim?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a good thing, and they're everywhere, worldwide. And then there was a question that popped up, and I was kind of curious. Mohammed asked who your favorite content creator is from the GameDev community. And I wanted to pop this up because lately, for me, I've realized I've been watching a lot of Code Monkey stuff. And I just kind of wanted to mention it. He's got a lot of cool videos lately that are really well done and really polished just on a specific feature on how to use this thing. Here's this package. Here's what it looks like. Here are the overall use for it. And then here's how you actually implement it as the second half. And I really like that format. And I think he's kind of nailed it and done a great job with it. So just wanted to mention that one. Do you guys have any others you'd recommend?
Before we move on that, I just want to say on CodeMonkey again, one thing I really love is that he builds upon his previous works in his videos. So when he's a building system, he uses grid system before that. And when he uses grid system, he also used other systems prior to that. And that's something that everyone should really, really learn how to do. You don't start every project you do from scratch. You build upon kits that you've made for yourselves. Okay. As far as content creators I appreciate and my favorite, I would have to give more thought to that, but it looks like a trick question with everyone here being content creators. Except
Well,
me.
I think we would just exclude anybody here. Yeah, just talk about it.
Uh,
I'm going to pick me, obviously.
I would
Outside
say,
of me, I'm going to pick
well, mine would probably be this guy Weimann Jason. It's not you. It's like the counter you. It's the opposite you. He's very cool. That's the opposite.
Definitely the counter.
For me, there's a guy called Ian Hubert, who's a VFX artist and film developer, and he's got a YouTube channel, and I really like the stuff he's doing. I wouldn't say he's my favorite. He's definitely up there, though. He's in the top.
Nice. Did you have some, Jason, or did you already share them?
No, I haven't shared anything yet, but I do have a load of things I recommend. One of them was mentioned GameDev Guide. That's one of my favorites for content. I'm a big fan of stuff that's well reasoned out. I think there's a Extortion is another one. Is that the game or is that the channel? I always forget the name. I'll paste a few links in a second once I go and find them. But effectively, my favorite style of YouTuber is somebody who's like, here's a thing I wanted to look into. Let's walk through it and see how it works. And there's only a few people that do that, which is why Warped Imagination is a nice, good addition, is when it's a problem, a demonstration of a solution, and works the way through. So any channel which does that structure, I like, regardless of... So I could list a bunch of them, but anything which does that, here's a problem, here's a solution, walk through the solution.
So you heard it first here. I'm Jason's favorite.
Yes.
You're on a list.
Nice.
I would say it's a good list. You're on a list, is what I'm saying.
Nice.
Yeah,
You're
Sebastian
like
Light's
that.
another one. Same
Far
thing.
too kind.
Yeah. I'd say Mix and Jam is probably one of my favorites, mainly because when I want to show people, you can make this, it's not as hard as it looks. Here is a person who did this. You can actually check their code, and they explain their idea and how they follow through with it very, very clearly. I just throw Mix and Jam in them. It's under 10 minutes per video, and you can literally see everything from start to finish. They don't go through the code step by step, but you get all the code in the end regardless. So, seems more valuable. They don't focus on writing out the lines on screen for you, which is something I don't think is as valuable when you watch the video, unless you reason out your code every single line. But when you're trying to make game content, and we're talking about game dev content creators, you don't really care about the code. You're caring about delivering a certain feature. And the end code doesn't really matter as long as it works. That said, it's coming from a developer of a game with us reaching 70,000 lines of code per file. So take that with like a mountain of salt if you need.
Yeah, I was reading. I forget what it was. I was reading earlier this week about programming and how it was essentially an art that only another programmer can actually appreciate because nobody else can even fucking understand it and tell if it's beautiful, good, or as long as it works and is functional. Like it's unlike a lot of other art, I guess. It's weird.
No, we have one of our software guys when he's working on something with me, he'll just post in just straight code that's crazy, and I'll look at it and be like, why is this even written this way? So it definitely isn't just a programmer understanding it. You can definitely see good and bad code.
You're just part programmer is the problem. I mean, you've taken too many programming classes to be objective anymore.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
What I'd say is when you're making anything with programming, you're making a solution to a problem, and the problem you're trying to solve is not necessarily a problem of your code needs to look pretty. So first, make sure the problem is solved, then make sure it's solved well. So if your code is bad, usually you'd see it in a form of frame drops and the likes. If you fix those and they don't happen, the experience of the solution of the problem you tried to solve is perfect. Nothing else really matters except the people who try to iterate on this solution further, which would be the programmers, you. So you're the last person to care about when you're trying to solve a specific problem.
Future you is very angry.
Or someone else. Future me hates me. Oh, depth is real.
Oh man, that should have been the title of the stream right there.
I do have something that I was going to ask you guys about last week, but I wasn't able to make it. I'm not sure if it's a good idea. And this is not an elevator pitch. If you guys have a moment. Obviously, like I said, last stream I was on, I'm getting right back into Unity. So I've been taking some refresher, and thankfully it's all coming back pretty steadily. But I figured I would tap you guys being the awesome resources you are, and figure out some way where you guys could maybe, like, I don't know, since I don't really have a focus, I'm just like getting back and messing around with the engine. If you guys could reasonably come with something reasonable that's like maybe like a challenge for me to do by end of a month or something like that. Once again, something basic, not crazy, but something that might help me challenge myself a little bit. Because like I said, watching some videos and going through stuff is one thing. I don't really have a specific game thing in mind at the moment. I just want to get back and familiarize myself with the engine again. So yeah, I figured I'd throw that out there. If you guys think of something that's pretty straightforward, just to help me get my competency back at least.
But you've got a game that you want to build, right?
There's a game I want to build, but
have you considered just doing some of the mechanics from that as a starting point?
That's eventually I want to get to that point where I just choose one of the aspects of it and just try to build it out and then build from there. But I want to get more comfortable diving into it right now. So I figure if there was some things to keep me focused, because right now that specific thing I'm not focused on. Obviously, I have like a gigantic feature I'm working on at work that is effectively eating my soul. So yeah, like something that'll keep me focused so that I stay on track and keep moving forward and learning more or relearning more as well. Like I figured my thoughts on that, you guys.
I take a lot of courses. I just love course content. In fact, just this in December alone, I've already bought 4, I think. One on how to do After Effects VFX stuff. I've bought one on test-driven development. I've bought one on programming stuff. So I do a lot of course stuff. And I find the reason I do that is because, similar to you, I get like there's just a lot of stuff going on, and I can't sort of pin myself down to do things. And I find the way to do it is a structured, some kind of course structure. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to pick one that's pre-made, and of the easiest ways to do that is to pick one that's kind of meant to be done quickly. And so in my case, I personally found the Wilmer Lynn ones on Udemy as well as the Blackthorn Prod. So basically Udemy in general, and there's Wilmer Lynn and Blackthorn Prod. Both of those do these sort of like, it's about less than 6 hours, and you start with literally an open Unity and you end with something. It may not be the best game in the world, but you have a game, like a finished, completed, play screen right to the end game. And I would, whenever I kind of feel myself getting a bit distracted or not working on stuff, I would just pick one of those and go, it is just constant productivity. And honestly, most of that stuff, I'm not going to lie, I know how to do it. But there's always one or two things. Like there's a little, oh, I didn't see that before. I haven't used that tool. And even if I'm not watching it for the course, following their structure means every time I have an idea that deviates from what the course is doing, I can go, oh, maybe I won't do it exactly like it says here. I'll do it my way. But then I follow the next step and continue the course. So I don't fall out of a structure. At least if you're following that course from start to finish, it's like it's out of your control. The next step is now we do the menu screen. Okay, I guess we're doing the menu screen. Like I don't have to think about that. I don't have to write the plan. Because what a lot of people I think fall off on is you can only work to a plan. And if a plan doesn't exist, you have to make the plan. And if you're sitting there wanting to be productive and the first step you have to do is make a plan, sometimes that's just enough removed to make you go, I don't care. I don't like a plan for this thing. So if someone's plan's just sitting there and you have to sit down and the first step you do is follow the thing, write the script he's saying, do the thing, you end up with something great. And again, my opinion, Wilmer Lynn is my favorite for this because he feels literally Tetris, and not just like a crappy Tetris clone. It's pretty good. It's got juice, it's got visual effects, it's got sound effects, it's got a good UI, it supports both on mobile and also on PC. It's like with the canvas scaling, it's like everything you need to say, I literally built myself Tetris, and it's a good playable Tetris is a good one. And then he also has one for the Hitman Go style game. And what's cool about that is you can style that to whatever you like. It's the same as the Tomb Raider one. If you follow that thing, put your own model on it, style it like whatever, and you can make your own game. So I think both of those were, to me, the most sort of motivating when I was kind of lost interest in things. I just did both of those courses back to back, and I was like, okay, now I'm ready to start doing things because I've like physically made something in just a day and a half.
All right, I'll have to check Weimann. I haven't heard about that.
Yep, looks like they're on sale too.
And if
And
you
there are
want to talk,
people
you
that
can
want to
always
see your
hit us
code
up an email.
reviews. Spline.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, guys. You do not want
I
to.
think it'd be cool if you actually did, you start writing some stuff up. Maybe not when you're not doing the course things, and then you actually just go through your code live and talk it through and talk about ways to refactor it. Because I think it'd be a good example of showing how you can refactor it and simplify things. And I think that you would be able to absorb it enough and show that on stream, and people would probably gain from it because, you can see the benefits of how to make things. We can teach how to make things more designer friendly, how to make things maybe more performant. But my guess is probably just to simplify a lot of things and problems that you come up with. So I think it'd be a lot of fun. To just do some stuff.
I actually considered pitching that, not in an elevator. But then I thought, nah, I don't want to get ridiculed and pointed at by these guys because they're like, what the hell are you doing, you crazy man? I'm just kidding, but I actually thought about something like that. That might be fun once I actually like get into more into it. Because whenever you and I would talk about stuff, I always have the question of like, do I make this just a separate function? Do I like all these things? And obviously the lesson that has always been taught is like you need to make them as straightforward and as simple as possible. So the naming of them is direct and what they do. So you can have as many functions as you want, as long as someone else reading your code can understand what this is for, and they can just get in and get out really quick when they need to troubleshoot or fix something, which is a discipline I apply to any data I set up from a design standpoint and all kinds of stuff. I've actually gotten arguments with people about things related to that and how I want to just refactor a bunch of data because it's this name this and it does like 800 things. Can we just split these out? Oh no, that's going to take too much time. Oh man, you don't understand how much this makes me want to cry, having to fix a problem here. And if I change this one thing, I'm messing up all these other things. It's really sad. So yeah, like I definitely thought about something like that. So maybe maybe
I would say though on the and this is like, again, this is right up my area because I did the same thing, is I get really frustrated when I try to learn something and I want to do it the right way the first time, and I get really annoyed at myself if I'm doing it the wrong way. But honestly, and I say this all the time when it comes to programming, in general, the best thing you have to kind of know when it's wrong is your gut. Like you're writing code and you'll get to this point where you're like, I hate this code. It's horrible. Like I hate using it. I hate looking at it. I'm ashamed every time I have to open it. And you don't need to know the 1,000,001 argumentative rules of programming, object-oriented, whatever. I think the first step is just literally, I say this every time, write the code that makes it work. The simplest code you can possibly write. And let that moment of you going, okay, this is ugly now. I may not know how to fix it yet, but I know it's wrong somehow. Then you still deal with those problems. So you can actually get very far without worrying about that stuff at all.
Yep.
I think, and this is, again, purely from my own thing. And in fact, myself and Jason Weimann here are taking a writing course at the moment, based up from these guys, and a game writing course. And we had a breakout session yesterday, and I specifically asked a question, and one of the guys said to me, this advice I'm giving back is the idea that I try to edit my writing as I write. I have a bad habit of trying to I know it's bad, I'm kind of correcting myself and writing stuff. And the general idea is just put some music on, turn your brain off, and just write stuff down. You can always edit it. You can always edit it down, but if you edit as you go, you're not writing the ideas down. And so the same thing goes for code, is that it's just not a good idea to start trying to make it clean when you haven't even made it work yet. So I would forget. It might be biased because you hear us talk about it all the time, but in truth, if you wrote the ugliest code in the world but it worked, that's more important and more impressive than if you wrote a really clean code thing and it did fucking nothing. So forget everything that we're saying and just write the code, make it work.
Yep. I'm definitely a stream of consciousness kind of implementer. I just go and then think about once I have something working, then I just kind of break it down and see where I can make it cleaner from there. Because I've just looked at other people's stuff and been like, oh my god, what's happening? But I understand, like, given the time frame or whatever it may have been implemented, that maybe that's all they all they had, or they just got it done and then went on to something else, which definitely I've been in that situation. But yeah, so cool. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I felt personally attacked by things both of you have said recently.
Oh man.
Seriously though, on the point of laughing at code that doesn't work well and what are you doing here, I just wanted to bring this up. I don't think anyone here will do that, and specifically, if anyone gives you code advice, it's usually just an attempt to help you, even if it doesn't come in the most positive thing. And it's something that took a bit to learn for me for the first time, but even if the criticism itself is there and you don't feel in your gut that it's wrong, it might be worth reinvestigating once in a while. Because as someone, again, with 70,000 lines of code in one file, there are times where even if the code works and your gut doesn't feel bad about it, you could gain free benefits from just small adjustments here and there. And that's great. On the other personal attack, Jason, we just talked about how I have way too much time on my hand and ideas that I want to pursue and that I'm scared of, and I'm like trying to figure out if there's a plan to make or not, and that's already something to die down. It hit deep. I might drag Salim in and we'll make something cool together.
Sure. Man, I lost my train of thought. Damn it. I was going to say something. It was very, very profound too. I know it was
really big.
That's why I went away. It was very profound. Light bulb appeared above my head, and it just kind of cracked. Sorry.
So there was a question in chat, Jason, that I had to pop up because we were talking about this earlier, asking if you jazzed up the Rider Battler live health bar stuff in the UI.
So close. Yeah, we're still trying to figure out, funnily enough, the source control issue on account of one of the other notes we had, which is it's a bit different than it was before. So I fully want to. It's on the docket. We just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, and that was for the maybe I'll pull that up now. We can start giving away a hoodie or something. But I shared that with you in Plastic SEM. So I've been trying to do a switch over to use that as kind of like my default Rider one or Unity source control for projects that aren't with other people that are using other source control systems. So I'm trying to just use it, get familiar with it, find the positives and the negatives. And so far, first negative is I share a project and it's extremely difficult to get people into there, apparently. Or not nearly as easy as I would like.
It could entirely be my fault, but I mean, the big red flag for me is when you get an email invite to a project, normally there's a link that sends you to that project, but there was not. The email was, you have been invited to a project by Jason Weimann, click here to install it. Not the project, just the app in general. It's like, well, how do I get the... it'll show up when you open it, and it didn't. So I don't know what to do from here. So I don't know.
So glad you did it, because I got the same link, and I was just like, I'm way too busy to do this at the moment. I'll get to it in a bit. And now I found out you've got all the problems. I'll wait for you to fix it first, and then I'll maybe try it.
It's so funny.
You guys get links?
Yeah, I didn't send it to you yet. I was going to send it to you too, but I was waiting to see if either one of them had it work. I was like, I don't know if this thing works or not. So there was a little button, invite, and I was like, I'm going to send it to Jason's story. And then I was like, Jason's not on. I'm going to send it to Dave and send him a text, see if he wants to check it out real quick. And Dave, I think Dave replied to me before I even messaged him. Like, what the hell is this you sent me?
Yeah, well, I wondered if it was like some spam thing that had come through something else. I'd not seen it before.
Yeah, right, because there was no context. I had no idea. At first, I left it there for a day and a half before I clicked it as well. Yeah. I was like, I don't...
Yeah,
well, I sent him a text message to ask if it was spam, and then got on with my job.
Yeah, and I wanted it to just show up in your hub. Like I thought, you'd get a link, you'd click a button, project shows up in the hub, and bam, that would have been the workflow
Yeah. So
that I like.
this
it
is
supposed to
the
show up
email
in
I
the hub?
got.
I don't think it does.
No, I don't think so. It basically said,
Oh,
you've been invited to join this organization with the organization name. And then it said, install Cloud Edition now and just follow the instructions to join.
Whoa.
And the link is just to the executable. And then you're on your own.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, sure.
How to get a virus on your PC 101.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely some feedback I want to send them and make sure that we can make that. Hopefully, we can get that simplified, because it would be great if it was just
wow.
bam, popped up, and Ryder, you have like a new project invite and hit a button and have it work. That's the flow I'd like to see in there. Let me share screen though. I want to share the battler that Jason hasn't improved yet, and that I haven't shared with the rest of you guys. I'm gonna send it out to all of you guys.
Oh, he's crashed again,
Is
isn't he?
he?
Yeah,
He
it
tried
looks
to
like
do
he
it
crashed.
before. He did this before the
Oh
stream.
well, he lost
crashed
his
out.
battle royale again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he lost. We
It's a
won.
nice free shot of him though. Okay.
Yeah, did you want to talk about that question
Talk
that just
about
came up,
David's
Yuri?
question. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So David Nijia asked a question. Speaking of writing stories in a game is pretty difficult, I realized. For books, you can just throw words at readers, but for games, I feel a lot of players really hate that. Anyone has some workarounds with that? I figured since you guys took a writing class just now, the two Jasons, or rather just one, you might have something you'd like to say.
Well,
I love this topic. This is one of my
Yeah.
favorite topics in computing and game dev in general. Okay, Jason's still setting stuff up.
Yeah.
I mean, the workaround is you have to learn how to tell a story with your environment and your gameplay and stuff like that. It's just kind of the, playing a game is basically like experiencing a story. So that's where you're telling your story. We've talked. I mean, when I first started doing these, Jason and I got into deep talks about how we tell stories with environment, stuff like that, and just citing games that do it really well. The Dark Souls or Uncharted, and how they just use their environment to just kind of put you in awe and make you think about, hey, what's over there? Where am I going? Things like that. Just make you just kind of stop and look, and just think about the mystery of it. And then just exposing that in some way. It could be something really subtle. It could just be a painting changing every time you walk through a hallway or something like that. Or even like actually recently, one that's like been super impressive to me. I'm not sure how many of you play Destiny 2, but they've have this long story that they're telling, and they have this particular character who possesses this particular god that possesses people and makes them do things, and to basically preface the arrival of this god. At certain patches, certain season releases, you would walk through the main city and someone would be whistling a tune. And there was actually a strike in there called the Savathûn song. And so eventually you realize that even like the main people you're interacting with, some of them were whistling this tune until they revealed Savathûn, that they were all whistling Savathûn songs. So it's like this cool ass, just kind of background thing that you heard or you paid attention to but didn't really think twice about it, but it was like weird and eerie enough that you remember it, and then when you reveal it, you're like, oh my god, like the story that they just revealed totally makes sense because they've basically been telling me this story this whole time without like putting it in my face. You just have to like leverage everything. It's an experience that hits all the senses, so you just have to, or multiple senses, you just have to take advantage of that type of stuff.
Well, one of my favorite quotes on this topic. Sorry, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, in actionable terms, or rather things you can act upon, show don't tell is what you're looking for when you're talking about using a game properly, and be actionable with the information, because something specifically regarding books versus games is that when you're reading a book, you're in imagination mode. You're imagining every single word that comes to you. You're creating visualization of the game, or rather the content that you're getting. But when you're in a game, you're being presented information, and when games give you information, you look for it instead of imagining it.
Mhm.
So you have to show and not tell, because people are not in imagination mode. They won't see it by just you saying it.
Yeah.
You have to show it to
Yeah.
them, and then that. And if it's actionable, if they can act on this information, they are more likely to retain it and respect it, because it's relevant right now, instead of just random jargon that you threw at them and that has no meaning, and they'll never need it in the next
they're
10
part of
hours,
it.
is what they're going to think.
Oh yeah, you hit the main note I was going to hit too, which is that one of my favorite quotes on this topic is called "The medium is the message," and what that means is what medium you choose to tell your story in is part of the story in a way, because what you're doing is it's choosing how it's being presented and consumed. And if you write a book, you have the advantages of inner monologues and soliloquies, and you can write descriptively in a way you can't in a visual medium. But in a visual medium like a movie, you have the ability to use things like the Kuleshov effect, which is the idea of two separate images that, when put side by side, imply something about a space. The classic one being, if I show a shot outside a restaurant and then I zoom in first person on a person sitting down at a table, I don't need to tell you that person is sitting in a restaurant, right? There's information imparted by the use of the medium separately from the actual story you're telling. And finally, video games are its own medium. And so, medium is the message, video games. What does video games have that a written medium and a film medium don't? Interaction. That is the point. That is the entire point. And so, every time you're offered a chance to tell some story element, ask yourself, how can you include the player in what they're doing? And to tie up that comment about retention, it's been proven in literally every scenario, people retain more information when they're involved in the process. As weird as it sounds, you ever seen those really like dodgy looking infographics where it like draws everything on the screen bit by bit for you? Those things are really annoying, but in person, that's actually really valuable. If I was to show you a pie chart with some information and I was to draw the pie chart with you, studies show that you'll retain about 13% more information from those charts just because I drew them with you rather than showing you an image. And that may not seem like much, but that's a big deal for retention. And this goes across all of gaming. Is anytime you have a scenario, you can either tell someone it happened or you can have them live it. They're literally in the game. So this goes like not just about narrative and environment and other storytelling. There's also the fact that the situations are happening. You can tell the story by the interaction of the characters and what's going on. I'm not saying everything has to be playable and you can't use cutscenes or anything. But what I'm saying is that a sequence with which the player made even so much as a basic choice will vastly improve your narrative. And if you want a literal example of this, I've said this one already, the new Guardians of the Galaxy game has long walking sections where you do nothing. You're just moving from place to place, but it's a really great game. And the narrative is great because every so often you'll have dialogue choices. And these dialogue choices mean nothing. For example, two members of your party are going to have an argument and you're just there. You're not part of it. They're angry at each other for something that happens, nothing to do with you. And you'll get an option to choose who you side with, or you can say nothing. And that doesn't seem like much, but suddenly you're not being told this person slighted this person or stole their food or whatever. You're hearing it happen. They're not mentioning you, and you get to respond by saying, okay, calm down, you shouldn't have stolen that. You get to choose how to engage with that story by playing it, not just hearing it. So anytime you have a chance to make the story you're telling an experience that's playable, you're in the right medium. If you want to write a book, go write a book. It's a different medium with a different objective.
Yeah, and just to touch on this point more, this is also why you have nothing choices in other games. It's literally because it's actionable, and at times they're throwing it in just so you can fill a small piece for yourself just by this. You know the games where you get two options, but they both essentially mean the same thing, like yes and yes, or yes and of course. It's because they want you to pay attention. They're stopping everything to let you make a choice, and this choice can make little to no impact, but it changes the context of how you think it was addressed. A lot of games will do this thing where they let you choose two relatively different questions, but regardless of which question you ask, the answer will cover both. But you'll feel that you had the impact because you had your own question, and it's retained in your mind. This is the piece of information I was given for this question.
Yeah, it also reminds the player that they are a part of the story, When
Yeah.
saying yes or yes doesn't matter. The fact that I clicked that button means that I am making this choice for this character, which means I am a part of what is happening. Definitely anchors you into the world and understanding the difference between a book or a comic or something like that in the actual interactive media.
Yeah, and like you can go really deep with this stuff. Where one of my favorite versions of this is the marshmallow problem, which was the idea that was it was a theory that children who could delay gratification would do better in life because they were better at making long term decisions. Was the idea that you'd put a kid in a room and you'd put a marshmallow on a table and you'd say, okay, don't eat that. If you don't eat that when I come back, I'll give you two. And then the question to just leave them in the room, just leave them in the room long enough to see who's like, nah, screw it, I'll eat the one that's here, versus waited to see. And then they tracked them over, I think it was 20 years or something, and just to see how now there's debates whether that it did pan out that the children who did delay did better, but like that's the validity of that's in debate. But my point is, if you have a video game and you've got a sequence you want to tell, like for example, your character is a thief, or you want to have some narrative where the city's angry at your character, just put them in a room with something shiny on a table and do nothing else. And what if you've got nothing else to play? You're going to go, I'll take that thing. And then they've now made a decision that they're culpable for, and your narrative will now force that. That's why a lot of games will have things that are blocking the player, and you have to push it out of the way or engage with it because you did it. So when someone comes along and says, hey, who stole my whatever? It wasn't a cutscene. It was like they had to do it. Now, granted, they had no other choice, but they did it. They got the sense of picking up the thing. And if you can do it where they don't feel like it's the only choice, the best example of this being games that walk you through a narrative. In the new Halo game, there is a sequence where the whole thing is crumbling down and you're running across these different things. And I'm not choosing where to go. I'm just running and like trying not to die as things are falling around me. But like lightning strikes are happening in front of me at points that are drawing my attention. So I'm going to run towards that thing. Or there's things that'll fall only when I get close enough. Or enemies will shoot at me to draw my eye. The point is, I feel like I'm making this dashing run across all this stuff and whatever, but it's waiting for me and it's carefully drawing me along. And I feel like I've made those choices. I could probably have walked slowly and got there and the game would have countered for that. But I felt like it was my skill / whatever that did that. And so anytime the gameplay can be part of the narrative, lean into it is kind of what I mean.
Yeah, and beginning of Far Cry 4, where I forget the main bad guy's name, but he asked you to wait, and if you wait, then the game ends. You get rolling credits. Like it was, you actively did nothing because he told you to. You listened to what the game said, and then bam, because you made that decision, the game is over. Goofy stuff like that is always fun to put in games. It definitely makes people remember and think about, oh crap, I'm gonna start this again and see what happens when I make that other decision. Those types of things are always fun, and you can't really do that with any other medium.
And that's actually I was kind of writing it there, but I want to rant about it first a little bit too. A common argument is games like, I didn't like in GTA 5 how I had to play bad people. And my argument to that is good that you had to play bad people, because the whole point of a good story, forget about games, forget about everything else, the point of narrative is tension. Literally, if anything you ever learn about writing, it's whether it's Hero's Journey, whether it's Story Circle, whatever it is status quo, tension. Something happens. My village gets attacked. I lose my favorite thing. Someone disappears. Whatever, it's tension. Some tension happens, and then the story happens, and your character has to adapt and resolve, possibly fail, then learn to get better, and then reevaluate, either internalize the conflict as something good or learn from it or something, return to status quo and continue. So you as a player are being forced to play a story, and if you don't like what's happening, good, you are being brought in on the tension and you now have to engage with the problem.
Yeah.
If every story was stuff you wanted to do and you got to play the best things all the time, you don't think so, but that's the whole concept of experience machine. You'd get bored. Like games where nothing bad happens is not a real game. And when I say bad things, I'm not talking about Harvest Moon. Everyone's going to say something like that. When you don't have enough money to buy the resources you want, that's tension. When you don't have enough, farming space to build what you want, or you owe someone some money. All of this is tension. I'm not talking about actual combat or whatever, but games need tension. And when a game forces you into a situation that you wouldn't have chosen, you will have a more rewarding experience.
Yes.
In general.
I do want to say that even though Kisho Tenketsu, the 4-act story setup, which is just introduction, development, twist, and conclusion.
And that's Mario, by the way, for people who don't know. That's the general, how Mario structures their puzzles as well.
Yeah. Even though that exists, it's not as engaging for gameplay as having tension moments, because these are moments that put you in your zone or the pace, as it were, and that's what can get you playing more for the enjoyment of it. You're solving the tension that is presented to you, and that can give you some of those good feelings. Now, you can get to make games without that and just follow the Mario format, but consider which one you'd like to use, because one is way easier to author than the other.
Yeah, I mean, challenge is the reason that you're playing the game, I would hope. Friction and all those things, putting you in those situations so that you can actually come out the other side and feel good about overcoming that is, I mean, what else are you playing it for? Even if it's just getting the high score and like playing some Galaga or something, there's still something there that you are trying to overcome that just compels you to keep going. If there's no challenge, then why am I playing? What's the point? There's no compulsion. There's nothing.
So
doing something else.
If your game is relaxed and mellow and you want to go with the Kisho Tenketsu method, then by all means, there are visual novels I've played that had this kind of experience, where there is tension, there is no stress. You just learn about the characters, you learn about them more, and then there's something that makes you feel a bit deeper for them. But there was never any high point of like, oh, I must do something. This is important. There are relaxed games like that. This might actually be good for someone who's trying to unwind and they have enough tension in their normal lives. But it's the minority in this
try playing some unpacking.
And if you're trying to figure out which way to do it or what games, whatever, or if you really strongly disagree with me and don't like that idea, well, then the idea is that there's different types of players. And there's this concept called Bartle's taxonomy of players, and it will break down the kinds of people who play games and what their goals are. Some people play to achieve things. Some people play to, for killing and domination over an environment. Some people play to explore. There's completely different reasons why people play, down to their personality types. And so I'm not saying it's the only way and whatever, but I'm saying that in general, you want games to be challenging. It just might not be the challenge you want to take. You can pick a different game. But in that being said, there are reasons for other ones. You don't have to pick one or the other. So whatever game you're trying to make or whatever game you're trying to play, just look into where it falls. Like find out who you are as a player, find out games that align with what you like. And I just think if this is just more of a philosophy of the industry, I want games taking risks. And it seems like a lot of people complained about having to play bad characters. Well, a lot of games you don't play as bad characters. So good that there's some out there, right? So I wouldn't look at it like not every game is going to be for you, unfortunately. But I think I would like to err to the side of a world where more risks are taken with storytelling in games than where we try to appease everybody. My personal choice.
Well, I guess I'll try doing that giveaway again. So last time I had a complete blue screen, everything blew up, and it's back up. I think that it's gonna work this time around. So I'm gonna hit the button, go into thumbnail mode, drop the window up here, and give it a shot. Here, I'm gonna put myself down. Sorry, Slime. I'm gonna get rid of that logo over your face. There we go. Okay, so I've set this up. I don't know if you guys have all seen this yet, but I made a bunch of changes to it so that it supports up to 4 different battles at once, picks random characters, keeps the characters across fights, and even keeps your health across fights. So really quickly before I show the winner and we go through and do the fight, I wanted to show some of the changes that have been here, and then some of the, I guess we'll talk about some of the opportunity to improve things or flashify it with Jason's UI changes and other things too. So over here, it's got a couple settings. It's really, really tiny, but there's a max health and amount of regen in combat. So you'll see when everybody starts fighting, they'll regen 1 health per second in combat, and an amount of health regen out of combat. So out of combat, they get back 10 per second. My normal damage somehow got cranked up to 15, so I'm going to put that back down to 10. And critical damage is at 30, and then I made the roll adjustable as well. And I just put this all into a scriptable object. I was thinking about maybe just doing a video on scriptable object settings, but I think I've done those somewhat recently. So let's start the fight, and I've got a total of 59 players in here. Hit play and just kind of see how the fighting system works. So did I show you guys? I don't know. I think Dave saw this, right? I don't know if anybody else.
On a side note, at some point, I want all of us to be bosses that they have to fight and beat. Just putting it out there.
Just pop up as a boss. That's not a bad idea. So here goes
That'd be tidy.
the first
Yeah.
round. So this is going to be for the hoodie, and I think what I'll do is on the semifinals, the last two, whoever comes in second place, to give them a code for a notebook or something, or mugs, and grab a notebook. So let's watch the fight. You can see got the next battlers. I tried to color code everything. I just used that the gradient. I forget which one. Was it Uri or Jason? One of you two recommended that UI gradient, so I used that for the health bars there, and then made that match up with a light that was over the characters, just so I could easily kind of match it up to who's who.
Nice.
But how is a Mimic losing anything? Mimic should just beat all these dudes.
Well, unfortunately, they don't have any special powers now. Everybody's exactly the same.
Yet.
Yes, not yet. Soon. I'm thinking like interactivity. One of the modes on here is a YouTube mode, so it can just take people from chat, but they have to actually say something in chat and pick their character, and it's still kind of a work in progress.
This kind of reminds me of a Salty Bet. I've never watched Salty Bet, but it uses, I think, the Mugen fighting engine, and people will just like incorporate.
Oh, Mugen, man. I played so much of that engine. Like, the amount of mods. I was one of those people with downloading the special 60 to 100 character screen so I could have Pac-Man fight, all these different ridiculous characters.
We're going to move this bottom left health up a little bit because I realized that I can't see it with the name bar over it, and I don't know if there's a way to adjust that. So I just drag this.
Yeah, Michael Cuddy is a good idea. I randomize the start for each fight so that they're not all identically synced.
Oh, it is randomized.
Well, is it? Because they kind of line up in terms of the...
Yeah, I think I saw something.
The order is random, I should say. So initially, right at the beginning, I randomize the order of all the contestants. I don't do it after that, though. After that, you can... It's just so that people can see who they're going to fight and get...
Oh, no. I mean, per each round cycle, right? How long before it starts? Do they all four start at the same time? Or do they all delay?
That makes sense. Yeah, having that, and so that they don't all fight at the exact time. They all tick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So different swingings are happening at different radius, rather than like everyone winning or losing at almost exactly the same time.
Yeah.
You can also have the camera pan over each one of them in a cycle if you want to get the...
I would love to, do like some cool Cinemachine shots.
Yeah, slow motion Cinemachine whenever someone...
Dolly tracking, yeah.
Yeah, whenever someone crits, it just like zooms in on them and shows it in slow-mo.
Yeah, especially if it's like a critical kill. Just knock them out. I think it'd be cool.
And then you get some fatalities in here.
I'm angry. I still don't see any post-processing here, though.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Some VFX
I'm going
as
to
well.
add you to the plastic project, and if you're able to, are you guys contributors?
You need some audio. Need some audio, man.
Audio. Oh, well, then we can't hear ourselves talk, though.
Yeah.
Oh, Sunny's going to have a hard time with that. So here's the health regen coming into action. The eyeball dude's going to have a tough time on this next round.
Oh, do they all have like special abilities on them?
No, not yet. But they all do keep their health. So they keep their health across rounds. So if they get beaten down too low in the next round, they're going to have a harder time. Now, I don't know if that's a great idea, but it seemed like a good way to speed things up a little bit and add a little bit of tension. So that the guy with 56 health against the guy that's healed up to 100, if he makes the comeback, it'll be huge. I don't think.
Also, we need to clamp the health bars. It just drives me insane seeing -5 health. Just makes my eye twitch every time.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
I hadn't noticed that. Damn it! Why'd you say that? Oh God, that's all I see now. Oh man. Oh God, there's 3 of them. Oh God.
And they even heal up for a tick after they die. So yeah, that was one of the things. I wasn't sure what to put there though. Like if you got over, I didn't want to put it just at dead. I wanted to say like you got your, like totally destroyed if you went to like -20. But just I don't know.
No. What you need? You need an additional sprite of a crack shape that shows up on the health bar if you've gone past the 0 mark. So if it was a critical, the health bar literally cracks. That would be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah. See, this is why I got you guys. This is why development is a group process.
Well, you could do, if you did do special abilities, you could do, since you want to keep the health carry over, you could maybe the rat has like a low health bonus that he gets at the beginning of combat when he starts low health, so he's like has some avoidance initially. Then you could do you could have basically like the what's the word I'm looking for? God damn it! The person's expected to lose has a chance to overcome. Could be interesting.
I think it'd be a lot of fun to just make each one of these things into a class that has its own ability and differences, and then we can battle them and let everybody pick their own class.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fair.
I still think
they want to be. Let's see who wins.
Because I think the big problem too is you have a large pool at the start, and so the best thing to do would just be have us as giant characters, and then all of them attacking us, and then whoever survives the boss round, then they go into the individual fighting one by one. That way we can call out the first chunk of people.
Yeah.
I thought it would be fun to have like a battle royale too, with like 8 of them in there just fighting each other randomly, attacking each other, and but then it might get weird with abilities.
Like, tell you what, remove all the violence and have it as a cooking competition.
There you go. All right, we're getting down to the end here. We've got a couple fighters left.
Here's a controversial opinion for you to. Here's a controversial opinion for you to think about: circular health bars near the units.
Oh God.
I thought about that, just doing bars like underneath them instead of the lights.
Yeah.
You could have the light.
It will let you place a lot more units on screen at the same time, so they can have that boss fight.
You could have the light shrink over time to indicate the health bar or something too, if you wanted to make it more diegetic.
This is looking like a scary fight. Look at that. I think Steven's. I don't think Casey has much of a chance. I'm going to unpause it. All right, so the winner will get the code for the hoodie and the other one will get the code for the notebook. But look, they heal up. That's the thing. It's 10 per second outside of combat. So.
I think the last two should just be full health.
Then Jesus be with you.
We'll see.
Pick the underdog.
It just makes it even more. Come on, who's got it? Oh, if Casey makes it.
Oh my God.
There you go.
Oh, it's so close.
Oh, wow.
Well, that was unexpected.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Well, I guess you were right about the mimic, huh? There you go.
I told you, man.
That was a
no
comeback
joke.
and a half. All right, so yes, congrats, Casey. I send you the let's see, are you in here in chat right now? I'll give you the code for the hoodie, and it's a hoodie and a notebook, and then Steven get the other code for just the notebook. Let me I'm going to email you both those right now, and then we'll pop up and do the writer one in just a second. Let everybody talk for just a minute, and I want to make sure that I get those codes sent out. So Casey won, right? And then Steven got second.
Yes. The Mimic won.
That's right. Casey the Mimic. Yeah, I like to let people like level up their characters visually or something. I think it'd be fun. Do some cool shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to turn this into a thing, yeah, there's some simple, cool stuff you could do.
Yeah. Just fun.
Don't get me excited, though. I'll be consumed with just like developing the stream video game. The GameDev show stream video game.
It's got to be battle royale. They've all got to be fighting at once.
Yeah, I do like that idea. Well, I like Jason's idea also of just like having a boss or 4 bosses or whatever, just like clearing out the battlefield first to get the true champions and then letting them.
Plus, isn't that like part of the rules about making games? Aren't you supposed to like? You're a god of your own universe. You're supposed to have some extra powers. I don't want to be a normal pleb. If I'm going to make a game and work on it, I have to be in there and I have to be more powerful.
You're reminding me. In Terraria, we have dev armors for every single developer of the game through active development steps. And back in 1.3 update, when I finally got the chance to have my own dev armor, we were swamped with work. We had no time to add anything. And I was like, what is the fastest thing that can be added into the game as my dev armor? I sacrificed it for the sake of making the more important features take precedence. And I was like, well, we're a pixel art game. We can't do a lot of details. A triangle would be nice. I made a skirt out of a triangle. And literally, my dev armor is literally a plain white shirt, a pink line for a tie, and a triangle for a skirt. That's literally it. That's the dev armor.
Nice.
The thing is, you're going to need to have some like boss level kills and everything to do with your personality or persona on screen. So something that the audience can pick out for each person. What would be their killer move?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to make myself a bullet tree, haven't I? I'm gonna have to be a bullet tree.
Jason Weimann putting down a singleton.
Oh god! He just dropped singletons.
Drop singletons all day on you, but only one of them.
Just one.
You have to pick them back up and use it again. You can't drop multiple singletons because that would just be ruining the entire thing.
He drops a new one, just erases the other one.
Yeah, just a fixed object time. Yeah.
Oh man.
Your eyes, beard. Yeah, it's all going down.
Never happens.
All right, should we give away
I am the anti-beard.
the writer code now?
Do it.
I'm gonna hit the button again. I've added 2 more people who entered. I think one of them was a dupe, so we only got up to 60 people. But I'm gonna hit run on this, and we'll see who wins the writer code. So this one's gonna be for JetBrains writer license for a full year. JetBrains is awesome and gave us those to give away because it's our favorite code editor. And I used Writer to build this entire thing. So here you can see it. I wish I could get rid of my name tag. Is there a way to remove that? So you can see how that bottom left person's doing without me moving.
How will we know who you are?
It's true.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway, that poor player in the bottom left. So let's move that panel up again. I'll just take this bottom left panel.
Wait, what just happened?
I paused.
It's live GameDev.
Oh, okay.
Live GameDev.
Yeah, so I just paused it, grabbed the panel up, and unpause it, and now it's moved up.
And this
I
is
can't
why
change
having
it because the
editors
data's
in
already
Python is
active.
good. Yeah.
All right, let's see. Next round. So for the YouTube interactive version, the way that it's set up, maybe I'll show it afterwards. It just waits and listens like at the beginning for everybody to chat and picks their character based on that and adds them all in. Is there anything that you guys think I should add into that when I finish coding that up this week?
One thing that I really love is if you hash a string, that'll obviously create a consistent hash you can use anytime. And so that's often what's used for things like Gravatar avatars, so that if that same name used anywhere will result in the same hash. What I mean by that is if you have characters like this, it would be a little bit more fun if you always got your character, right? So even if it is random, that code will generate a certain color and a certain character. So that way every person will know they're the red rat or something, and that way that'll be the single thing for them, and that would be a kind of cool thing to have consistent across every competition you do.
Yeah, make them have a character, like a persistent one.
Maybe
we need a web-based character editor.
Could you do something like put like their avatar or whatever just like over the head of the thing so you can look at it and see who they are?
Oh yeah, you could probably scrape the icon and have a little header icon that has their face on the hovering over the character. Yeah.
Or even on the health bars or something like that. If you don't want to make the screen too busy, but yeah.
Only do it for
as
the
long
last
as we don't
few,
have to worry
though.
about inappropriate crap popping up on the stream.
Oh yeah.
There's always at least one entry in there that I have to delete because it's completely inappropriate. So I assume there will be at least one picture of Salim in a compromising position or something. What? It'd probably be me.
The bullet tree position.
Whoa! I don't even know if I want to know what that is. Wow. But yeah, you could force them to choose a particular thing. Then maybe I don't know. But yeah, it'd be cool to just be able to see my icon, and because there's like 3 rats on the screen. Knowing which one is mine very quickly would be nice.
And letting you customize your rat's color, like pick texture color would be cool. Like not just like the health bar, but we could make it so you could just tint the character and pick that. And maybe, when I get bored, make like a WebGL app that allows you to customize, create your character, and save that off into a database somewhere, and then I'll load those all in as the battlers. All right, this is gonna turn into an MMO, guys.
You know, if you really want to take this to the next level, Unity has this new service that they let you run calculations on the cloud, like simulations of the game with different settings, and you can let that just balance all the powers out for you.
Do some machine learning to determine which one's the most powerful and figure them out.
No, it's not.
balance them.
It's not machine learning. You're literally running dozens and dozens of the same fight with different configurations, and it lists them all out, and it gives you a spreadsheet with the results. And then
Oh,
you
that
can just
one.
say, yeah.
Yeah, I've used that before.
then-
It's kind of interesting. You get tons and tons of data and analyzing it. I thought you were talking about the machine learning one where
Yeah.
it does that and then tries to auto adjust. Although I don't know if you could adjust to like get a balanced win rate.
You can make a score by how long a fight takes, because if a fight is uneven, that means there's leftover health in the fight, and if they're both as close to 0 as possible, and it takes the longest time, that's when it's balanced. Then again, the AI could just make them both instant kill each other on the first move.
What is the next Battlers
Perfectly balanced.
thing counting?
What's that?
What's the next Battlers thing counting?
Oh, that's a number each time. It's like dropping a chunk of people, so it's people in the backlog. I think.
But it's going up whenever someone dies.
It's whenever somebody
They're being
wins, they
recycled
go
back. They've
into
won.
the
They've
line.
won, so they're going back in the line.
Oh, okay.
Iterations.
So they get back. I just only
And then the
show
number
next
goes
one
down.
that- Yeah. Then
Okay.
eight get pulled from the queue, and then
Oh, okay.
they come out, and then 4
Interesting.
will get added back in, so we'll go back up to 12.
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
it's worth having two
That completely
lists. You know,
confused me.
people who are like first rounders versus people who are previous round winners or something.
I think it'd be cool to show like some visuals of like them going back into the list, even like their name kind of like
Yeah.
flying into that list and then disappearing or something.
But is it important that people know that they're going back? Isn't that just kind of the rules of the thing? Is it
It
important?
is,
make
but
it
it might
that?
help communicate it better.
Imagine
Gotcha.
a little picture-in-picture where there's like a waiting back room where there's a whole bunch
Oh,
of characters
yeah, you
sitting,
can do
sitting
it.
down, and then every time someone's won, they go sit in the lobby.
Just show them in the
Show
champion tree.
like a little
They-
lobby view.
They walk in off screen or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, next
No, you
week's
just have, like, a
video
little
is
bit-
going to be talking about how we can avoid feature creep in games.
Yep.
To avoid about doing
Well
it,
played.
making
Well
a good,
played.
clear design document,
We
making
like-
sure you break that into tasks, printable tasks. Don't go beyond that.
We completely like destroyed the scope of this whole thing.
Yeah. So Jason
else are we
Wyman
gonna
used to
be?
be a
Wow.
YouTuber, but now he literally just makes video games. And that's all he does. He just works on a battle because he has no time for anything else. Because of the
He
feature
can't
creep.
even test this because there's no streams to actually have people because he's no time to do the stream.
Yeah. Literally making this battle.
Oh man, I can see it. It is addictive though. It's just fun.
This is why Terrar 1.5 might happen.
All right, final round.
Oh, this is
Moose versus Axe.
This is for all the candy.
Ox, not Axe. Ox, Norlax.
Moose is
Alright,
going to
betting
win.
on here.
Okay, Ox.
Oh,
Ox is my man for this one.
damn. Oxygen.
No, come on, don't die
You're
this
saying-
way.
Damn.
Oh, no.
I'm
Wow.
never wrong about this.
Absolutely
Wow.
destroyed.
Holy.
What the hell?
Okay, so
That's up.
okay,
Oh,
That's just mean.
congratulations. That was.
I call shenanigans.
Yeah.
I think Jason Wyman has a button there just to embarrass me.
I wish I feel like I should at that point. That was. I shows randomness there. Oh, I'll share the source code. Oh man, well, good round. I'll send you over that JetBrains code in just a few minutes too. So, Moose on the loose. Congrats.
You know what
All
you
right.
could do?
Flawless
what you,
victory too. Flawless victory.
what you could do for people going back into the queue is you could just populate the rafters and stuff around there with the characters, so they're like watching.
Oh, like
Like
up
that.
here on the let's
Yeah, could be
I like
interesting.
it. So they could be like up here and
Yeah, on the edges, on the up the top. It might
the
be
ring.
cool.
Well, actually, yeah, no, I kind of like that one too. Yeah, every time someone's here sequentially from one competition to the other, they get an extra like couple of % health boost bonus, so they're slightly more sturdy next time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No.
I think you need
penalize
I guess-
anybody new to the stream.
Yeah.
Actually,
Hey,
if
well,
you
actually,
like,
you
if
can
you
have
like
the
the
first
video-
time bonus as well. Works both ways, right? First time bonus and then a separate bonus for long term viewers.
if you like the video, you get a better health.
That would be
Is that-
great. I just
Uh-oh.
don't think there's a way to do that.
I feel that's,
you can access membership stuff and messages. I don't think that you can see if they hit but that would be cool. Like for a heal.
They kept thinking if they could, not being sure if they should.
I'll just make it so they have to type heal in chat if they want to heal. The faster they type heal, the faster they heal.
This is becoming a pay-to-win affair.
Or we can just put puzzles on there. And they
We
figure
should
out
add
the
loot
puzzle.
boxes.
No, we should make this and add some NFTs to this, and just go.
Gotcha NFTs.
I really like this.
No,
view,
no,
though.
no. I'm completely sorry, and this is no. It's not. It's not lying though. Just no. Just no to all of this. Just no.
So NFTs for sure.
NFTs and loot boxes.
Yes.
Oh, of course. That's what you get from the loot box. You get your NFT. Your uniquely identified loot box.
Yeah, your writer code is in a loot box, and you have to pay to open it up. So,
Can you pick me up? They're trying to get me to buy NFTs.
I like this zoomed out view here. So I just restarted it for fun to see. But I think your idea, we could put the people up on the rafters here, and then the next people could just be up on the stairs, the next 8. That would be and it's super simple to do. I mean, that's
feature creep for sure.
Half an hour experiment. Oh, we got super chat resurrections appearing now. That's the new feature.
Did he press like? Is that how he resurrected?
No, he's super chat.
On a completely unrelated note, just thought I'd mention, if you ever work in anything that gives prizes or rewards, there's this really fun concept of sweepstakes, which is very different than normal giveaways, and there's different rules and regulations. So just be very clear when reading the specifications about what you can or can't do if you ever find yourself making a project that's giving things away. Because all jokes aside, some stuff is literally illegal.
Yes, absolutely.
No, I think as soon as you get into actually letting people pay to win and do things like that, it's probably way overboard.
Yeah, I wouldn't even joke about it.
I just like keeping it in reality. Just keep it all random, but random with letting. I think it's fine. Let them pick their character. They're just
yeah. I
Character,
mean, some
color,
personalization is nice.
Yeah.
Keep it fun and interesting. But I really like the idea of expanding this out. And if I'm
honestly,
not
just make the entire area circular.
Just make it an actual arena. Yeah.
Well,
Have an edge. Have an edge to it, so when the player dies, they can just kick him off the side and drag
Yeah.
instead of having him fade away.
Just everybody punts them over to the next floor, and then they can sit there and watch.
Now I'm getting all the flashbacks to the fatalities in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Or it was actually my personal favorite. Ever played the Wu-Tang Clan game?
Yo, yes.
That honestly, I think they beat Mortal Kombat for fatalities. The death animations in that game were so much fun. So much fun.
It was originally called Thrill Kill before it came to America, right? Yeah. It was too brutal for America. And then they got Wu-Tang to endorse it and bring it over here, and it was fantastic.
Nice. Well, you guys got any other topics you guys want to hit for the week? There was one thing that Andrew mentioned that I just wanted to share, and I put a link down in the description, which was the Unity New Year's sale. So they've extended that out. There's a whole big sale, and most of Andrew's Infinity PBR stuff is 50% off. So there's a link right at the top of the description. You can go check that out. But I don't know if you guys had any other things, interesting stuff you want to just mention, bring up, things you might be interested in.
I was just going to comment that on the Game Awards, any of the games I played that won an award, I agree with. So that was pretty good. It turns out that for the most part, that's pretty good. The one in particular that really stood out to me was music. And I genuinely believe Near Replicant that deserved that. And not only that,
Oh God, yeah.
I think it has better music than Near Automata. And in fact, here's my I just thought I'd show I have my own little Weiss right here. Here's my
Nice.
from the collectors. So
Nice.
yeah, I think that's a really cool music.
Yeah, my son's favorite game soundtrack is Automated and Replicant.
To William Crandall, who says, I want a GOTY award. I too want a GOTY award. I think everyone wants a GOTY award.
Well, some of us are more likely to get them than others, I guess. It depends if you have a game out.
Let's see. Let's pull some of these up too and kind of go through a couple of them. So, anybody want to talk about actual game of the year?
Yeah, so actually that one it surprised me, and there's certain things I really don't like about it, but that's such a minority. The majority of the game is very clever. It's well done. I really hate fucking Buck. I think he's an absolute horrible character that I hate. But gameplay is very clever. It's actually got some really interesting examples of gameplay where you have to coordinate more than most other games I've played. Like I've played a lot of these like 2-player type stuff, and where you have to coordinate to solve puzzles, and most of them are just really boring and obvious. But this had some really nice ones where you have to do stuff like one person has a nail gun and the other person swings off the nails. Like there's some really nice uses of those puzzles. Yeah, I genuinely enjoyed playing through that, and it really feels like you're playing a Pixar movie or something, because it goes through a bunch of phases and characters. It's got lots of nice cutscenes. Honestly, and what's cool as well, only one person has to buy it. So if you want to play this, you can buy a copy for yourself, hit up a friend on Steam, and you can both play through this really fun kind of game together.
Yeah. To be more clear, you can play with as many friends as you want. It's just that one person at least has to buy it.
There's that's been a trend, but also in Steam they have that shared experiencing you can do with any like game you can play locally co-op, like Children of Morta and stuff like that. Even though they don't natively support online co-op, you can just use the shared stream stuff from Steam, and I think it works on pretty much any game. You just have to use controller.
So you're talking about Steam Remote Play, which what it does is it's basically letting your friend simulate input from their gamepad, get the inputs sent to you, and then applied to your own PC, so that when you're playing, he can actually play. You stream the game to them, and you're basically playing local co-op on your machine, and they get to experience it all with you, with really just cool. The lag of the visuals.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Turning a local multiplayer into network multiplayer.
Yeah.
No code. Pretty cool.
Yeah. It's so absolutely fantastic, given anyone needs a gamepad for it, though.
Yeah. My wife and I started playing Children of Morta on PC. We played the hell out of it on Switch, and I bought 2 copies. I thought, they've got the online co-op, and then realized they were working on it in quotes, and they had been for a while. But then I discovered their remote play, and it was great. It's just unfortunate that it has to be gamepad for the second player, but still, it's fantastic that you can just use that on any game. Well, at least a variety of games that can support it.
So, was there a game category or a couple that you guys wanted to look at for the video game awards outside of Game of the Year?
I honestly didn't even pay attention to video game awards this year.
Was there one you're curious about who won?
I'm trying to remember. Was it best? Sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say best game direction. I think that was one that was in. I can't remember which ones I liked, but there was ones that. Deathloop for the art direction design. There was something else. Let me check the list because I've forgotten.
Yeah,
and of course, a bunch of the winning games were on PS5. I don't even have one of those.
I mean, if you want to talk about games without moral integrity, I guess we can call it that. Genshin Impact is really good quality-wise. I've been playing it since launch, and I only didn't play it for like 3 days, and that's because as soon as I finish working, I usually go and play, and it was on maintenance, so I couldn't, and I had to go to sleep.
Oh, wow.
So there was the 1-year event, and they showed you statistics about everything you've done, how many days you played, how many slimes you've slain, how much gold you've spent, etc., and the events you've done and quests and stuff. It was personalized, really cool. And it was like, you played 362 days. And I'm like, God damn it! I really wanted a round number. That was that was a thing. But seriously, though, the game gets constantly updated, and I really, really like the quality of this is the made in Unity that Unity should try to make.
Best
Aside from
narrative, I guess, is
microtransactions.
a good relevant one because we were talking about it, and it's Guardians of the Galaxy, which I genuinely think it deserves it. I think that was, I played that game just like casually. I wasn't really expecting to put much effort in, and I played the whole thing through, and I didn't notice the time go at all. It was this, I was playing. It felt like I was watching a movie but playing it, right? Everything that I was talking about making a game where you are playing the story, like, I don't think there's a much better example. The game is relatively mechanically light, and honestly, I really don't care that much about the combat system. But the fact that any downside didn't bother me because I was like really invested in the story that's going on, and the game has constant moments of even the downtime is narratively relevant. It was kind of really impressive to me. I've never played a game where I never felt like I was spinning my wheels as much. There's a couple of bits I'd probably have cut down some of the on-ship scenes, and there's a couple of other bits that it's not perfect, but I think more it demonstrates a skill at telling a story without realizing you're being told a story. You know.
Yeah, I've been on the edge of getting that, and of course, I still haven't played Deathloop. Man, Christmas season's coming up, but also my friends.
Well, yeah, you have to get Deathloop because I want to talk to you about it. So you have to get that game. Oh.
I will definitely play it over the holidays for sure, if not sooner. Work's starting to wind down now, so I'm gonna have a little more time to play more games longer, since I keep like starting them and getting distracted by something else. But yeah, it's in the back of my head.
So,
I think I've already purchased it.
Sorry, something for you, Jason Weimann. Age of Empires 4 won the best sim/strategy. Do you want to talk about that?
I saw that. I'm not surprised at all because I don't think there have been any other strategy games that I can think of that have come out. What's that saying?
I don't think there's been a lot of competition. What else was in there?
Let's pull it up. Best strategy /sim. Yeah. So
Humankind's actually pretty decent.
Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Wait.
Yeah, it's a
sim. It's sim strategy.
Yeah, it's a problem with RTS games. There's so few of them. It doesn't even have its own genre anymore.
I know it's weird. Are the first four all RTS and then the last one's just straight simulator?
That's a weird category to chuck together, really. I suppose there's a strategy to planning where you're going to fly to and fuel and all the rest of it, but no, that's weird. Don't do that in the future, please.
Makes you wonder if Farming Simulator 2022.
Oh yeah, you could do like the rig, all of the drive truck simulator, and all those things could just be their own category.
Yeah, they just didn't have new ones.
Yeah, those are.
It released recently, and it's got really good reviews. I was actually surprised about that, by the way.
I mean, wouldn't things like Forza and all that stuff count as a sim category as
well,
not just racing?
Free Forza got like 3 awards. It got Best Audio Design, Innovation in Accessibility, and Best Sports/Racing. So
it's
innovation. What's the innovation for as a racing game? What's the innovation?
Innovation in accessibility. So
and accessibility. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So sports and racing are combined, huh?
I just call it sports. Why not just call it sports? Because racing is still sport. I don't.
The 3 of them are car racing.
I think apparently I think the innovation was the fact that, which is quite rare, you can completely control the speed of the race in Forza. So if you're from an accessibility perspective, you can slow the entire pace of the race down so that you can have people. You know? Yeah, so that's really cool.
Wow,
that's really cool. That's really, really cool.
You just set the time scale.
Just make anything super hot.
I haven't gotten really into a racing game since GT2, and I was looking at this. I'm like, I really jones in for a nice sim racing game. So your recommendation, I might have to check it out after Deathloop and
Yeah, just pop round and I'll put you in dirt on the simulator with a full VR headset. That'll
Ooh.
that'll do
Ooh.
you in.
Actually, that's a fun point. On hot take, of every VR racing game I have ever played, it was Euro Truck Simulator that was the most immersive of all of them by a large margin. That game was extremely impressive, and the moment I knew it was the most immersive was when I felt like I was completely ill-equipped to drive a vehicle like this. Because you're trying to back up and you're going, this is scary. I feel like I'm going to destroy half this street and all the people behind me because I can't, like, because you have to properly navigate and move the like giant container behind you, and yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, earlier yesterday I saw a pickup truck pulling a container down the freeway. It scared the crap out of me too. Literally a pickup truck with a trailer, and then it had like a full size like a shipping container on it. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that guy would probably love some Euro Truck Simulator. I was looking, I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? He's just driving down the road, little old pickup truck, giant shipping container.
Damn.
I assume it was empty, but who knows?
Although, if we're talking best simulated experience from that, I would say this is a while ago too. But honestly, if you go full bore into Elite Dangerous and you set up voice attack and you have the correct controllers and you have everything set up and you're using like a Core Effects vest or a butt kicker on your chair and you do the whole thing,
Oh, wow.
that is insane. Because not only does it feel really like you can physically feel it, that game allows you to have voice controls for every part of the ship. And you can buy packs of different famous actors. So you can have like William Shatner as your onboard computer as you give voice commands to your ship as you dock, as you're like feeling the rumble. It's like nothing else has been that like all in what your kind of immersive sim would be. You know, that was a really good experience. And the game is slow paced in that like you're doing jumps across these different systems, and so you get to just chill, and there's like you feel like you're driving, you know, you're doing a long haul truck type scenario, and it's so relaxing with the headset on, the music and the rumble of the vehicle, and you're like, and you can ask your computer for information. So you can have like the equivalent of a Cortana who tells you information about star systems. So you can start asking questions going, tell me about this star system. And you can just have a conversation with your onboard ship computer as you're like coasting through the star systems. That is the most like VR experience I've ever really had.
Okay, but if you want a slow experience, try Star Citizen.
Slow to develop, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It was there. It was there.
Hey, I'm still a backer from like a long, you know, literally people could have been born and could start making games in the time it has taken between when I backed this. So I think I'm allowed to say that.
you have purchased the right.
Exactly.
Yeah, over 300 million in funding. Anyway,
This one isn't good because there's a game missing on here that should be on here, and that is
Silk Song. I was going to say it's got to be Silk Song, right? That's obvious winner for most anticipated. There's entire swaths of the internet who are just sitting there, like just waiting patiently,
waiting for anything for Team Cherry to say anything about Silk Song.
So here's a caveat here. I think one of the pages here says that the votes are 90% from the members board and 10% from the crowd, something like that.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure if this applies to this category or if it's correct for this year, but assuming it might be.
Skew that.
Yeah. There are some things here that I didn't exactly fully agree with nominations-wise, so...
Oh, and by the way, best esports game for League of Legends, I'm sorry, that is only there because of Arcane. We all know it.
Yeah,
Arcane was amazing, and that's the only reason it won that.
I have conflicted feelings about that because the game itself is actually really, really good. Like, I could play League dropping into practice mode, no enemies, no nothing, and just watching the VFX and thinking about all the abilities and everything I can do for hours on end and not get bored. The VFX is just stellar. The voice, the audio is just perfect for it. They have good indicators for everything that's going on, and when you know what's going on and you're in a team fight, it's just one of the best experiences you can have. And it doesn't get old because no match is the same. Like literally, so many champion and item combinations and balance based on how the start of the match happened between the players.
Plus, it's really educational too, because you learn a lot of new words from all of the people who are telling you some really interesting things in chat. If you don't know how to mid lane correctly,
It wasn't always like that.
I'm pretty sure it was.
To be
I'm pretty
fair,
sure it was, Jason. You taught me some new words.
There was when I bought this CD back in the olden days, before everybody else got allowed to play. It was pretty chill. Everybody was pretty calm, and it was fun.
No.
Great fucking game. That's one of the few things that like I still have a piece of around. I got the old kit from when they used to sell it in stores.
Don't worry, Jason. They're fixing the language at least. They're removing all chat.
Yes. It's the solution for most games, I think. Just remove chat. All right, guys. So I think we're just about out of time. Anybody got any last minute things, topics, stuff you want to bring up, mention, share?
There was one topic I wanted to bring up, but it's a big one, so maybe for next time we can talk about looking at games and replicating their features, because apparently that's something that not only I have passion for here, and it might be fun.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's do that in the next one, and we'll do some reviews of portfolios as well. So anybody watching, just look for the link in the description to submit your portfolio reviews. I'll put them up right after we finish, and I'll also send out an email to everybody that's on my emails. Just go to game.courses/email if you're not already in there, and I'll post it there as well, so people can just submit them, and then we'll talk about them and share them live. On top of that, there was Andrew's link down below for the the New Year sale that's still going on. And my Black Friday sale deal thing is going to end with our last Q&A of the year next Sunday. So that's up until next Sunday, and then we'll be cutting that down with the final Q&A for the year. And then we'll have our show right after that.
Thanks for the heads up on the Wilmer stuff. All the stuff is on sale. It's crazy. I sell all his courses for like $100. So I will be checking.
Yeah, and I would say honestly, no offense to any course producers here, but he's my favorite from that perspective, just because there's a lot of, again, I watch so many content creators for course stuff, and everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. But the question I usually get asked the most is from a beginner perspective: how do I start? And I think Wilmer Lynn stuff just hits that exact mark, that he's the first person that I think I recommend for that stuff, because it's the right level of, it feels like a college lecture or like a studied thing, but you also get a product at the end of it. It's short, it's sweet, and you can feel like you got something out of it. So yeah, there's a lot of people I would and I could go down the list of hundreds of different courses I'd recommend, but I think Wilmer Lynn is usually the very first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I always appreciate the more academic stuff. I'm always like practicing and trying to keep my math skills up, and I end up just taking like another class, because there's nothing online where people can like really like look at your math or give you like feedback on that type of stuff. So I definitely appreciate a more academically set up class feel when being taught stuff like this. So yeah, hopefully it works out. Looks interesting. They all look good.
Dave, before we end, there was a question for you about if there are any tools you suggest to use for Unity hardware integration. And I'd asked you a question about Bluetooth stuff earlier this week. So I felt like I should at least put this one up here. Is there something you would recommend for actually integrating with hardware? Because you've got like your motion simulator right behind you.
And you're not allowed to say Arduino. Anything else?
Raspberry Pi. No, I'm going to be dropping a couple of videos this week. One's going to be a tutorial. I haven't decided which one of the ones I've got uploaded so far will be on there. But the other one I'm going to be doing is a video on the actual simulator itself. That's the thing behind me, or that way. The simulator there, which is a full motion simulator that I built and designed. So I'm going to be putting a video up on that, and it will have some details on how I actually talk to it and what I do with it. That actually runs on an Arduino. But yeah, so a lot of my hardware stuff's Arduino. I'll mention some things in there, but a lot of it is just learning how to do communication to chipboard sets like Arduinos or ESP22s or whatever, and actually doing the code on that side of things to receive the code from that. And whether you're going to do a shared text file, you're going to do a straight UDP or whatever. But yeah, I'll be going over that. So go and look at the channel, Warped Imagination, and I'll put that stuff up. And there'll be a
if you're
new
not already
tutorial.
subscribed.
Ooh.
Yeah, go
You mentioned you have a
subscribe, search
couple.
Warped Imagination
Put them all
or
up.
click
I'm not putting them all up at once. It's about content. You've got to put it up bit by bit by bit. I have to do like a load of videos and then get back to work and build a new simulator or build something else or do something else. Then do a few videos.
You must consume.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep doing videos.
Just do what I do. Stress about it for a month and don't put any videos at all. That's just.
I do that as well. I do that as well, but the amount of videos I've chopped because I'm just like, no. Or Unity announces a new tool that does exactly what I tell you how to create. So yeah, there's 2 tutorial videos. One's on how to make reactive menus in Unity, and the other one's on, I can't remember what I've done it on. Building just an example of creating a tool. I show you how to build a tool that would edit splines, basically, which is great because Unity just put something up there. But I'm going to put it up anyway.
Compare your features.
Yeah, theirs will be better because they integrated everything and I had to rip it off. But anyway, yeah, there we go. So those will go up. So yeah, go subscribe to my channel. I'll put them up.
All right. Well, anybody got anything else?
I just want to say it's really, really nice that me and Salim don't have a channel right now, so we can just laugh at all you guys' content.
Got to get it.
It's great.
Salim
Love your
has
content.
one. He just hasn't made a video yet.
I haven't made a video. I made one, but I haven't.
I'm alone.
I think you need to rename it to something searchable too. Your name is way too common, and the R doesn't makes it impossible to find.
No. There's only one me.
There's lots of Salims. You need your last name.
Oh man, why you pressure me into doing this stuff, and now you're telling me I did it
Doesn't
wrong?
he? It's because he wants everybody to feel his pain on creating content. He literally pushes their button. I only have a YouTube video because of him and another guy called Nick, this guy called Vimmer, who literally have the pain of creating content all the time. And they know how busy I am, but they're still like poking me.
To be fair, you don't have the same joy I do where you get to be on this side of that argument now. You get to just sit back and it's very satisfying.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Salim, get it done.
Oh,
You're
what the
right.
hell?
Don't lay back. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I gave in to the peer pressure. I just like the name, but now apparently the name isn't good. So
it's got to be searchable. You got to be findable. You got to be able to put your name in. And if I can't find you, nobody else can.
But you can find me by texting me. You got my phone number.
I guess we could just give that out and everybody
just post that out to everybody.
To your YouTube channel.
I wouldn't care.
Okay, so the winner of the next Battle Royale gets Salim's personal phone number.
Sure. I mean, if you search hard enough on the internet, you can get it anyway. So that's not difficult.
All right, guys. Well, I guess I just wanted to wrap it up by telling everybody to please hit the thumbs up button. Go share the stream. Come back next week. We'll be giving away more stuff. Talk about some really cool things like the pitch reviews and other stuff. And I guess go check out Dave's channel so you can see that new stream that's coming up or the new video that's coming up. All right.
Can we act out the pitch reviews? Can we do take a pitch review and then film you trying to pitch it to me and me being the stuck up?
I'll dust off the green screen and put up an office environment.
If you want to come over here, we could definitely do that.
I mean, I'll be there for a day on the 24th or 2 days, but
All right, yeah, you can come by and we'll record it. Without a doubt, you got to come by. All right.
Okay. All right, guys.
Thanks again, everybody, for coming out here. I'm gonna hit the button.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Leave a comment. Drop a chat. See you later.